Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on the table near the entrance to the building and give it either to the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words, actions. Thank you. All cell phone, pages, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of this meeting. We're going to call the Terrebonne Parish Council to order. Will everyone please rise? Before I turn it over to Councilman Guidry for an invocation, I'd like for all of y'all to keep in your thoughts and prayers. Councilman Gerald Michel's brother passed away last week. Councilman Dirk Guidry's brother-in-law died night before last. So please keep them and their families in your prayers. Councilman Guidry.
Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings for all those gathered here this evening and ask for your guidance with our thoughts, words, and actions to be in the best interest of this good earth community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, Mr. Hampton?
Yes, sir. Mr. Harding? Here. Mr. Michel? Mr. Amade? Here. Ms. Domain? Here. Mr. Darren Guidry? Mr. Babin?
Here.
Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Trosclair? Mr. Navy? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, Keith. A little housekeeping. Darren Guidry, Chairman. Please be advised that I will be absent and/or arriving late for tonight's council meeting due to last-minute conflict. I have reviewed the agenda and will follow up on matters requiring my attention. Also, Mr. Gerald Michel, please accept my apologies for not being in attendance regular council meeting. I have kept up with everything and will bring it to my attention. And also, Councilman John Navy will not be here tonight. I have reviewed the agenda and will follow up on matters requiring my attention. So those three. Item number 1, approved minutes of the regular council session held on November 30th, 2010, November 10th, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Amade, second by Mr. Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Just distribute minutes of the regular council session held on November 7th. We've done that. Approve accounts payable bill list for 11/15/21, 11/22/21, and 11/29/21.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Guidry, second by Mr. Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Approved manual checklist for October. Okay, general business. A public hearing relative to an ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance number 9267, which created the North Terrebonne.
So moved.
Oh, sorry. Moved by Mr. Guidry, second by Mr. Amade. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, Steve. An ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance number 9267, which created the North Terrebonne Parish Recreation District in accordance with LARS 334562 ET SEQ regarding Recreation District. Moved by Ms. Domingue, second by Ms. It doesn't look like we have to. It is a public hearing. We'll call for public once, public twice, public 3 times. Motion to close, Ms. Domingue. Second by Mr. Amade. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion to adopt, Ms. Domingue. Second by Mr. Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Item B, discussion and possible action relative to correcting the scoring sheet for Hurricane Ida SDE service procurement.
So moved.
This is discussion and possible action. Who put this on the agenda? Say again. Mr. Pulaski? Mr. Aber, you going to?
This document was discussed at the meeting back in November, but it was not introduced into the council's formal record. So what we're doing is we're asking y'all to make a motion to put this in the record, to adopt it. It was given to y'all, but it was not on the agenda at that time, so y'all couldn't put it into the record. But it was supplied to y'all, so my recommendation to staff was to get it into the council record and ask y'all to make a motion to adopt, to fit to that
The
resolution. at
SDE
that-
services procurement.
Yes, yes. RFP.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Trosclair. Second by Ms. Domingue. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Item C, resolution authorizing the parish president to execute all necessary documents to submit an application to the Administration of Children and Families for the Head Start program in Terrebonne Parish and to execute the FY 2022 five-year Head Start budget application. Moved by Mr. Amadei. Second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Item D, resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of $50 million of taxable hurricane recovery revenue bonds, Series 2022 of the Parish of Terrebonne, State of Louisiana, providing certain terms of said bonds, making application to the State Bond Commission for approval, authorizing certain actions of the executive officers and providing for matters in connection therewith.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. John Amadei. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Item E, introduce an ordinance to amend the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 22, Article 7, Drainage, to levies and call for a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Harding, second by Ms. Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. At this point, I'm going to, because we have some members here from 4 or 5 different agencies, I'd like someone to make a motion that we have an add-on to the agenda.
Make a motion that we do an add-on for discussion with these entities.
Let me read them all out. Possible discussion with Aptum, FEMA, Entergy, Louisiana Public Service Commission, and any other agencies as available regarding temporary housing in Terrebonne Parish. Mr. David Zito will be attending to speak on behalf of the Louisiana Public Service Commission. So we have a motion to add on and a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Open to the public. Anybody in the public have anything to comment? Public going once, twice, 3 times. Motion to close the public.
To close the public hearing.
By Mr. Amadei, second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay. So we'll bring up Mr. Chris Pulaski, who will give us a little overview of it, and then we'll bring in the individuals.
Good evening, Chris Pulaski, Director of Planning and Zoning for Terrebonne Parish. I'm sure you're tired of looking at me telling you this stuff, so I brought in the ringers. We have representatives here from Aptum. Aptum is the contractor who's handling the deployment of travel trailers on behalf of the state through the Office of, or GOSEP. We have FEMA here represented. We have folks, subject matter experts from FEMA with respect to the direct housing program. We have representatives from Entergy here to discuss their procedures. And then we, as you mentioned, we have Mr. David Zito from the Louisiana Public Services Commission. Let me just start by saying, as we've had discussions with Aptum throughout this and FEMA as well, we've started to identify, based on a lot of the discussions we've had up here and a lot of the calls that we all get, issues that we're seeing with these programs, and we've been finding ways to reduce those issues, eliminate them, streamline things, and I'm happy to say, things are starting to move forward. Aptum's program's getting really rocking and rolling. FEMA's, we're getting more coming in on a daily basis. We know that there are some issues with respect to various stages within that process, and that's what these folks are here to talk about. But I know just from the Office of Planning and Zoning, the Permit Division, we've already had several conversations with Parish, with SLECA, with Entergy, with FEMA, and with Aptum, and all of their contractors on identifying these problems, and have already identified lots of solutions. And that's what you're going to hear a lot of from these guys tonight, whether we're talking about private sites or group sites. It's all here for discussion. So I want to thank them all for coming in. And just we thought the easiest way to start would be with the first program that got underway, which would be Aptum. So
Correct.
I'm going to ask Aptum to come up.
Yeah, someone from the app,
And they do have presentations.
okay, good. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
You sending me a Christmas card?
Yes, I am. If you give me a trailer.
Registration is idashelteringla.com. Amy Corville. I am with Aptum, the Director of Response for Aptum, and my address is 13619 South Trace Drive, Walker, Louisiana. I'm in Livingston Parish. Grew up in Acadiana.
Okay.
Would you like me to pass them out or give them to the clerk?
Just give it to him, he'll take care of it for you.
While it's coming up, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to come and speak to you today and your patience. Third time's a charm. It's not for want that we didn't show up the last two times, the tornado warning, and then the last time we were presenting with the State House Homeland Security Committee, and that was a 9+ hour long meeting and weren't able to get here on time. So just briefly, and this information you do have, you have the electronic copy as well. So if I glaze over anything, you want me to go into more detail while I'm up here tonight, I'd be happy to do so. If you want to talk about it afterwards or at a future time, just let us know, and we'll be happy to come and meet with you one-on-one to have further discussion. So this is not the only interaction with you. This is just the first of many as we go forward with the first of its kind program. I've been with Aptum since 2009. I have had the honor to provide solutions to many communities before, during, and after a disaster, but it means more when it's home. Aptum's been a Louisiana-based company since 2002. You may have seen our own building here in Terrebonne Parish. Let's just say not habitable right now. In addition to our long-term Aptum employees who are Louisiana residents, we, as we usually do after disaster, we focus on hiring within the disaster community those who are looking for work. We've hired a lot of people in Terrebonne and in Lafourche and other highly impacted parishes. But we have a lot that are here in Terrebonne Parish as well. So just so you know, when you're calling the program and you're talking to a community outreach specialist, or you're interacting with one of the Aptum inspectors, you're talking to a Louisiana resident. And so, whereas not all of them are displaced or survivors of this storm, we've been through it, we sympathize with you, and we're trying as hard as we can to provide and deliver services to you as quickly as we can. So just a little bit of information on us. I know some of you know this is an engineering firm, but we are also a long-term disaster response recovery firm. So if you could just bear with me for a second. So a disaster occurs and everybody goes into step 2, emergency sheltering. Sometime when the sun rises the next day, you're already to step 4, your temporary, or even step 5, your permanent housing recovery solution. What the state did this time is they realized that there was going to be a need, and to go from step 2 directly to step 4 was going to take too long. And so they worked with FEMA, and they worked with the parishes, and they worked with the community, and they asked, what do you want? What solution do you want? And the solution that came back is that a lot of people said, give me a trailer, let me put it on my property. So the state was able to coordinate with FEMA and receive approval for a program that is step 3. It's temporary shelter. It's a first of its kind program. This has never happened in the nation before. There is no playbook for this, but there's playbooks for disaster recovery. There's playbooks for how to think innovatively out of the box. We've done it multiple times as a company elsewhere. We're very happy to finally be able to do it here at home. and help to work with the parishes in the state to find out where we can provide efficiencies. We're very familiar with FEMA's program. We understand all of the steps that they have to take. And so we worked along with the state to say, okay, that's temporary housing, that's temporary housing. These things, that's temporary sheltering. These are the things that you can make efficiencies that we believe you can present to FEMA and will be accepted. And the state agreed, and we went forward. And that's what you have is this program right now. It's a first of its kind. We look for your information and your feedback for things that you're still seeing where you think, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried an efficiency here that you're seeing in your district, or you're seeing in your parish, or you're seeing in your own home or your neighborhood? So step 3, temporary sheltering, first of its kind program. So we started October 4th, was when we opened registration. This was 7 to 10 days after we were solicited competitively as a state contractor for this. And in that time, we were provided a very short policy, which was nice to see that the policy delivered to the state from the federal government wasn't an exhaustive and very restrictive policy. It allowed them to be as creative as they needed to be able to do the efficient solution that they were trying to do. So this program is for, as it says, how does it help? It's safe sheltering to an individual or family. We call it collectively a survivor household, for safe, secure, and habitable shelter in your parish, and it's focused on those parishes most highly impacted by Hurricane Ida. Basically, 6-step process, starting all the way on the left, temporary shelter, to your permanent housing, recovery housing solution all the way on the right. Registration opened October 4th. You could register on the website. You could register by calling the phone number. You all already did the due diligence of reaching out to your constituents within your councils and gathering all the information that you could from all of your constituents of who was telling you at that time needed sheltering, and you provided that to the parish. First 2 weeks, we have a strategy from the state. We worked with each individual parish to customize that strategy to what does this look like for Terrebonne. Worked with Chris Pulaski out of the permitting office, worked with Earl Hughes, the director of OSEP. What does this look like for your parish? What do we need to do? First thing we were told, first responders, essential personnel. How can you have the public back here adequately supported without the essential personnel? That was, all the parishes said that actually. So our first 2 weeks while we were taking the registration to start identify what does that population look like, we were very focused on those essential workers and getting them quickly through the process that had been built now to give them a temporary shelter. Step 2 is an eligibility review. I've been asked who's eligible. If you're in a highly impacted parish and you need safe, secure, and habitable shelter and you do not have one, you're eligible for the program. Now beyond that, is your home major damage or destroyed? Do you have another shelter solution available to you? Because we cannot duplicate benefits, but this is still a sheltering program. And that's basically it. Step 3, and between step 3 and step 4, I have additional slides after this that go into more details. And I would like to spend at least a little time flipping through them slowly, because this is where the efficiencies that Chris talked about really came into this program. And I'm going to make an assumption that a lot of times when that department was doing things, they were getting your blessing and your approval to be able to make those efficiencies happen. So thank you for that. So step 3 is once an individual has told us, I have a need for sheltering, we say, okay, do you have a site? And if they say, yes, I have a site, it does not have to be their site, but we call it a private site if they're bringing the site to us, and they have a landowner signature. We have greatly lowered the burden of proof in this. The registration is something I could stop you on the sidewalk and ask you, and you should know every answer except for maybe your FEMA number, but we can help you know where to go to get that, and we'll stay on the line with you if you call, or if you're at the DRC, we'll help you get it there on site before you leave. There's 3 pieces of information. A copy of your government ID. Doesn't matter what it is, just need a copy of your government ID. A release of information. It's a 1-page document. And the next document is a 2-page document. It's the right of entry. It's the landowner agreement. It's the lease in. I will agree to the program terms that I will use this as a temporary shelter. I will be responsible for damages to the shelter while I'm in the unit, and I will continue to work on my long-term housing recovery because I understand this is temporary shelter only. That's it. That's all that it takes. If they've answered that and they've provided us that right of entry, we can then go to the location to do a site inspection. If they say, I can't because the landowner's not here, we'll say, okay, we don't do scheduled appointments because we don't want to slow down the process, because we thought about that. Here's where we can make an efficiency. If I have to wait and schedule an appointment with you, and I'm next door, and you're next on my list and you're not there, that may cause a delay. But I can just go through, and if I don't need you there, I can just go house to house to house to house. And so if we do need a release of a right of entry from a landowner, and you cannot provide it to us through the website or at one of the disaster recovery centers or another outreach event, then we'll say, okay, we'll be there between 7 a.m., 7 p.m. this day. Meet us there. We'll have you sign on site. And that's worked well. When we're there on site, the site inspection doesn't take long. We're not looking at the damaged dwelling. The parish has already done that, or they're in the process of doing that. We're looking at the site. Is this site feasible? Can I put a shelter unit on it? Can I connect it to power? Can I connect it to water? And can I connect it to sewer safely? Yes or no? Do a drawing, take pictures, make some notes. After that period, that is the full site inspection. Doesn't take weeks, takes a limited amount of time. Within 24 hours, that site inspection is confirmed, whatever the outcome is, feasible, infeasible, or feasible pending action. Feasible pending action means we're going to need you to remove this debris so we can get the unit in. We're going to need you to help clear stuff off of the sewer intake. It's an action by the homeowner or by the survivor that needs to take place, and we communicate that to the survivor. Once that is done and the site is considered feasible, we now identify a unit that matches that survivor household. You may have already gotten the calls. If you didn't, then you may end up getting them. This unit's not big enough for my family. These aren't mobile homes. That's not this program. It's temporary shelter. Your survivor household is defined. One of those questions you answer is, who's in your household that needs shelter? Give me a name and give me an age range. Are they male or female? And that's it. So if you say you have X number of adults and X number of children, we look at a unit, we look at the manufacturer's capacity for a unit, and that's how we make our match, and we send that match to you. If we got into the business of saying everybody gets one that's the same size, the same color, the same layout, and all of that, we're not going to be able to be efficient, because the state procured from the private sector units that were available that met a pretty wide scope, but a scope that could be considered for temporary shelter. So unit is matched with a feasible site, and they're to step 4, sheltered. After they're sheltered, then we're going to start contacting them. Once a month, we're going to do a preventative maintenance inspection to make sure everything's still working well with the unit. They can call us in the meantime if they have a maintenance issue. They call 1-844-268-0301, the exact same number, trying to make it as easy as possible. It's one number, and there's a flyer in each of the units with that number. That flyer is also the last page, the second to last page of your presentation. When they're sheltered, we're also contacting them to say, how are you doing with your long-term housing recovery? We're shelter only. There's a lot of other solutions that they need to get them to their next step, to get them to the recovery housing, which is what we all want to happen, to be housed here in Terrebonne Parish for another generation consistently. Oh, happy days when they call us with step 5. I found my next solution. I'm ready to move out. We work with them on scheduling a move-out date. We inspect the unit, and then we take the unit off the property, and they transition to their long-term housing recovery. And so, as I said, I'm not going to... Got it. So step 3 to 4 are the next few slides, and this is where all these efficiencies came in. Interacting with the parish, we've assigned contractors. The state did a competitive solicitation for haul and install contractors. There's 13 across the state. We did a geographic approach. You have about 4 contractors that are assigned to the Terrebonne Parish area. That means they understand the streets in Terrebonne pretty quick, if they weren't already a contractor from the area. They understand the permitting process. They understand the utilities. They may start learning those power lines better than, well, not better than the power companies, but they start learning those power lines and they know who's who. It creates efficiencies for the program, and that's why we did that way. Same things happen in some of the other areas. And we, of course, have some contractors that help across the area when needed. We've had a lot of conversations with the utility coordination, and I'll let them provide you some more details on those efficiencies whenever they get up here. But this information's there for your understanding of some of the efficiencies that, again, I'm going to make the assumption would not have occurred and been successful in Terrebonne Parish without your support of those offices that are doing it. So the program by the numbers, and this is a little small on the screen, but all of the information here is information that was provided by the survivor. So I believe there's a question previously of can we look at the own versus rent ratio of those here? So this isn't from parish data. This is from a survivor saying I own versus rent or leaving that answer blank. And so that is one of the data points that we have available to you. The way that we phrased it here is on the right side, the last pie chart says private site. Because what we know is just because you rent, that doesn't mean that you don't have a private site. And so what we're looking at when we're looking at what does your group site need in the parish, we're looking at who says, yes, I need a private site, versus who said no or left the answer blank. And we do that search all day long, almost every day, as we're looking for other sites that may become feasible in the parish to be able to house those who do not have a feasible private site. And so one thing that I do, if I could ask each of you, if you are aware of a mobile home park or an RV park or an area that has power, water, sewer connections available, and they have a substantial number of units, roughly defined maybe as 10 or more, and that owner is interested in doing a lease with the state of Louisiana, then please let Chris know so that we can get out there, do an inspection, see how many feasible pads are there, because that is an option for someone who doesn't have a feasible private site that we can move them on while waiting for the group site, which I know Chris has provided you updates on the Rebecca Plantation group site that we're looking at. The report is by mid-December. That one will be ready to be online, and we'll be able to help serve that population that's a needed population. To break down the numbers a little bit more, of the 5,274 registrations in Terrebonne Parish, of those, only 2,815 have self-declared major damaged or destroyed. Again, this is not parish data, this is self-declaration. And so of those major damaged or destroyed, they fit roughly into the following categories that I have on the remainder of the slide. So if you're trying to add up the entire slide, it won't all add up. The 5,000 is a separate number than the 2,000 number, but everything below it adds up. So your 405 households equals 1,215 people. We are seeing, and we've tested it in a few different ways, it keeps coming back as an average of 3 survivors per household. It's obviously not that. You have a lot of ones and you have a lot of greater than 5, but on average across the state in the focus areas that we're on, and then in Terrebonne Parish itself, it keeps coming back as an average of 3. So if that's a data point that you were looking for. The definitions of registration: incomplete, complete, where am I at, what's going on. If you do have access to the internet on your phone or online, and you log into your account and you click on your FEMA number, which is your identifying number, on idashelteringla.com, it's going to tell you your status. And under whatever your status is, registration incomplete, complete, reviewed, pending site inspection, pending shelter delivery, or sheltered, it's going to give you a definition. These are those definitions. So if somebody says, my registration's incomplete, I don't know what I didn't do, the easiest response is start at the top left to make sure that you have all the blanks that you can answer answered, and make sure you have the 3 documents attached. And if you have any questions, call 1-844-268-0301 or go to the Homeless Civic Center and ask to speak to the IDA sheltering program. The parish was successful in getting another DRC opened in Montague, and we're going to look at the numbers for Montague over this first week and then make a decision as to whether we'll have representation there as well and what that looks like. And so we'll work with the council and the parish to make that decision together. DRCs are also closed on Sundays now. So if you find that you have a high number of calls or inquiries that are coming in on Sundays and there's a need on Sundays, let Chris know, let us know. We'll coordinate with a location with the parish or with yourselves to be available to constituents there on site for those who need that person-to-person interaction. If you have an event or something that you're holding with your community members, I ask that you, again, refer them to idashelterinla.com, 844-268-0301, and to go by the Civic Center. And then once we establish the days, if we're going to go down to Montague, those days as well. Talks about the site inspections. This is the private site inspection. So if somebody calls, hey, I have a site, here's a right of entry, please go take a look, tell me if it's feasible or not, we'll go and we'll do that. And so this will show you also a breakdown by the cities as well. So the path to occupancy, how many are deployed and how many are leased in. Now, it looks like in that bar graph of the 659 that are deployed, only 403 are leased in. Why? Why is there such a large number between those? A third of them are within what we call the haul and install window. So after your site inspection, your site's feasible, we've confirmed it, a deployment order goes out within 24 to 48 hours to the contractor to haul the unit to the site because the utilities are ready. Once the unit gets on site, they have about 4 days to install all the utilities, to get an inspection done to make sure that even though the unit was inspected at the staging yard, it's inspected again once it's on site and all the connections are made to the house to make sure all the utilities work and everything inside the unit is still in working order. There is a COVID cleaning, which is also just a general housekeeping cleaning of the unit, and then there is a COVID cleaning protocol that occurs. And then the survivor is contacted for a lease in. And that's when they say, this unit is ready for occupancy, it's now ready for you. And they make an appointment with the survivor to come. They walk them through the unit to make sure they understand how to use all the components of the unit, and then they hand them the keys. They sign a lease-in document, which is just a checklist that, yep, everything's in order, I agree, and I take the unit, and then they're sheltered. So the difference between these two numbers is a fourth of those, about 80 of them, are still in that 4-day-ish window between being deployed, hitting the ground before they're ready for that lease-in call to occur. There are some that are also, about another third of those, another 80, that the unit is on site, everything's hooked up except for the electrical. So we looked again at efficiencies, and we had the conversation, do we move the unit in before the electrical is ready, or do we hold the unit on the lot? Well, you hold the unit on the lot, and now you're taking up a space that another one could have come in, gotten inspected, received by the state, and then pushed out to somebody else. And if I get it on the lot, I can hook up the water and I can hook up the sewer already, and it's there. And I imagine it's very hard for a survivor who lives in that home to look at that unit sitting in their driveway and not be able to go in. But at the same point, it doesn't have electricity yet for them. And we've talked about a couple of options that we're still considering to help close that gap. But again, the utility companies are here and they're going to tell you what they're doing to help decrease their time that they're able to turn those around. Fact versus fiction, temporary power pole, if you don't have power service to your home and you need power to be brought in, the program will provide, install, and pay for a temporary power pole. We will coordinate with the parish will coordinate with the electrical providers, and they will put the meter on. The only thing that the survivor needs to do is contact their electrical company and say, I, name, authorize this second meter, if a second meter is required, to be put onto my account. It's the only thing we can't do because it's your account and we can't push that on you. You have to request it and accept it. That's it. So a third haul and install window, a third are waiting for power. The rest of the group is split into two categories. One is some that have been demobilized because the survivor has accepted the shelter initially, and then they have another solution now, and they said, you can go ahead and take it away, I'm good already. There are others that the unit has arrived, and they haven't accepted the lease in yet because they're weighing other options and solutions that they have, and they may end up pushing it away as well. That's the difference between those two numbers. We do have about 100 site inspections across the state occur a day, about 50 deployments occur a day, about 50 lease-ins occur a day. Terrebonne Parish, About half of the deployments we do on a daily basis right now are done in Terrebonne Parish. So you're looking about 22.5 or so deployments a day in Terrebonne Parish, and about 13 lease-ins a day in Terrebonne Parish, which is just a little shy of about 50%. So where are these at? This is kind of a small map, and we can work, if you're interested in some of this data. We just looked at the sheltered, and we looked at a geoplot of where they are across the councils, and this is just where they're falling right now at this time. This isn't necessarily a picture of where they will be in the end. This is just where we are right now based off of the population that we're working at this time. Parish coordination, I know Chris has done a fine job of staying up here and answering a lot of your questions based off the information that we share with him throughout the week. All of that has turned into all of the efficiencies that we've been able to do, from providing them program updates, coordinating on damage assessments to make sure that whenever a survivor says, my house is major damaged, and before we show up, if Chris is able to say, no, it's a shingle, it's not major damage, don't use a resource on them, there's something else that's there, especially in this first, what we'll call, this first phase, we'll call it, to this point. We were trying to, if they said, I need shelter, we were trying to service those individuals as quickly as possible and then just move through the population as fast as we could. At this point, while their damage assessments are now done in the parish, we're able to make a little bit better decisions on those where he can look and see, yes, they are major damage or destroyed, so that we can make those decisions. Essential workers were our main focus. The staging area coordination, we were very fortunate to be able to use, which is part of our efficiency plan. Instead of just having a staging area, let's have multiple staging areas, and let's have some in the highly impacted areas. That way we can get units delivered directly down into the high impact area. We were able to use the Houma Civic Center for the first 2 weeks to help jumpstart that process. And what we've done, you may have noticed, this week, instead of continuously restocking the Houma site, it was now time that as those last units went out and were deployed to a site that was ready to accept a unit, we didn't restock Houma. Instead, we have it all combined at a site elsewhere outside of the parish, which is a larger site that can accommodate a much larger number of units. All the equipment that we need for testing and accepting the units is all co-located there. It's just a more efficient operation now, but we do appreciate the support of being able to have those units staged here in the high impact area for the efficiencies that we needed to jumpstart things in the beginning. Permitting, there's been a great deal of coordination between the permitting office. How does the parish want to accept permits? And we provide sometimes once, twice a day, some bulk permits to the parish list for them to go through and review. There's an agreement between the parish, don't wait for the permit to come back to start hauling the unit and placing it in, but of course, we want to be fast, but we want to be safe. We don't move forward until there's that electric inspection before you release the unit to the individual. And the group sites, of course, Rebecca Plantation being the site. And so continued support and coordination. Again, this isn't the only conversation with you, I hope. Continued conversation with you, so help provide that accurate messaging. There's a rather lengthy FAQ on the website. Those questions are there as a resource to you, to your offices, to friends and family if they have access to the internet. If they don't, let us know and we'll help give you those answers. If you happen to go there and you look for a question and it's not listed there, let us know so we can provide that answer. Help us identify those commercial private sites that might be in the area that we can go and inspect to see if it's going to be feasible for a quick, as we would say, a plug and go. And referring those survivors, again, to the website, to the phone number. If they have a bad experience, let us know. The calls are all monitored. They're recorded for quality and training purposes. And if I do get feedback that someone did not have a good experience, we do go back and we listen to those calls. We see what happened. We see where we need retraining, or we see where we need positive reinforcement because somebody had a great call. Anytime a community outreach specialist calls you, they call from 1-844-268-0301. If you see a missed call, some carriers it actually comes up as LA Shelter. Some started coming up as spam risk, and I think we got that solved again. If you're getting any of that somebody gets that phone number from 844-268-0301 and it's coming up as anything other than a true number, let us know so we can go back to the carriers and fix that. The only other phone numbers they may receive a call from are your site inspectors for the site inspection if they have questions, or lease in. That may come from another number, but those are all Louisiana numbers because they're Louisiana employees. You may find 2 or 3 that just so happen to still have an out-of-state carrier. So that's the one phone number. It was intentionally done that way, and it's intentionally done so that whenever you have a maintenance request, you call the same phone number. Maintenance is 24/7 now, so if you have a maintenance emergency overnight, you're able to call the number, you get a recording, and it tells you what to do, and we are responding to that call with 24/7. So a lot of information. Sorry for taking up a lot of your time, but felt it was important to kind of start from the beginning and work the way through some of the things that I believe were concerns.
No, it's very important that you guys are here. I know we have a few lights. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Trosclair?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, you stated on October 4th, y'all actually, after signed the contract with the state to start this program.
That's when we opened registration. The contract was signed the last week of September.
Last week, except within that time.
Yes, sir.
And it was around that time that we had actually had a meeting at OEC, the councilman and parish president, OEC director and everybody. And we were asked at that meeting if we would solicit applications for these trailers. Okay? So, a couple of councilmen weren't real enthused about it. Some of us went ahead and did it, and actually we all did it, okay? Now, needless to say, once it got out that we were taking names for these trailers, these phones just blew up. I
can
mean, there
imagine.
was no way you could physically take every call as it came in, because I was getting 3 calls during one call. So at that point, it put us in the first line of contact between a trailer and these people. Now, my next question is going to be is, do you know when the first trailer hit Terrebonne Parish?
I would have to look that up. I know the first trailer was delivered, I believe, day 6 or 7 after registration was open, and it was to essential worker. In
So-
Terrebonne Parish? October 11th in Terrebonne Parish.
Okay. Now, my thing is, we took these names and numbers. My question is, why, were y'all doing any vetting of these people prior to these trailers coming in? Between the time y'all started this process, I mean, we were told that this would speed things up. If we took names, turned them in, they would roll them over to the state, parish roll them over to the state. That would be a jump start, so that when the trailers started coming in, people should be already ready and approved to have them put to their properties. That did appear to be the case. I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, because there was a lot of time that went by that we were taking calls, well, where's my trailer, where's my trailer, where's my trailer? Okay, because, you know, even though I emphasized to everybody that called me, which was probably 600 or so, this is not a parish project. I am only taking names to turn over to the state. It didn't make any difference. I'm the guy they talk to. Okay? So when they didn't get a trailer, I'm the guy they call. And I don't mind taking their calls, trust me. You know, if I can help anybody kind of way, I'm more than willing to do it. But when I called, I couldn't get any answers either. So it was kind of like we were beating our heads against the wall. I understand y'all got protocol, but my understanding was if we took these names prior to the trailers coming in, that process would have been moving before the trailers actually started coming to the parish. So they could have basically came in one door, went straight out the next door, and back where it needs to go. That's not what appears to be happening. And I don't know if it's absence, the parish breakdown, the state, but there was a total breakdown somewhere, in my opinion, because, you know, here we are, you know, December, and we've got 400 trailers that people are actually in, or close to being there, they're not in. The next thing I have is This actually happened to my sister this week. My sister lost her home, and she applied for temporary housing. So she had a site inspection done. The site inspector came in. Everything was good, except her meter pole from a mobile home was leaned over. And the words to her was, she's gonna have to get her pole straightened up and the power hooked up. Well, I know that she don't have to do that. She don't know that. I actually have another one of my constituents in Montague that was told the same thing. She was site approved, she had to have a temporary pole put in so that she could finalize the inspection. She went out, did not know any better, not calling me, hired an electrician, paid $1,200 and had a pole put in. She got a trailer, but it cost her $1,200 and she can't get that reimbursed. So these inspectors, I'm not sure if they explain themselves like they should be explaining themselves to the people they're talking to when they go on these sites. But you know, some of these people down there are need to be explained. They don't understand the process. In fact, the majority of them don't. I mean, it took a long time for us to figure it out. And we still ain't got it figured out, if you ask me. But, you know, we need to be more detailed, and we letting these people know what the deficiencies are, what they need to do, what's expected of them. You know, when you tell a lady, a single mom, that she's got to have her pole straightened up and re-energized before he can hook up for the trailer, well, she's thinking she's got to do that. Mm-hmm. And most of those people down there don't have $1,200 or whatever to hire somebody to go do it. So they're panicking again. Okay. Like I said, the first lady in Montague, she paid the money. She had the money. Probably didn't have it, but she scrounged up what she could to get power because she needed a place to live. My sister, fortunately, knew she could call me and find out what she could do. So, I mean, that's some of the things that I think we need to kind of address to your people, to your contractors, because I know they don't all work out them directly. They probably subcontractors and subcontractors, subcontractors. But let all people know in detail exactly what's going to happen and who's going to make it happen.
But thank you, Councilman Trosclair. And it's very important to have that relationship between your constituents so that they need you for more things than just this program, but especially in a disaster when you need to be able to go to you. And so we'll work with you to make sure you have the accurate information so that when you tell them, no, that's not right, you know with full confidence that what they're saying isn't right because you've been able to have that conversation with us to understand what the expectations are of the program. There's pretty much everyone who's on the program, on the APTM program management, the site inspectors, those that are interacting with Lisa, and the community outreach specialists and all, are APTM employees. The contracted individuals are the state solicited haul and install contractors and the state solicited maintenance contractors. However, as the management firm assisting the state, supporting the state, and running the program, we're going to work on that communication again about interacting with the survivors, you know, making sure you're having clear communication, and as we often say, just don't tell them anything that you're not sure of. And it is, we understand and we appreciate it's a difficult interaction when they're on their site and they're saying, what needs to be done, tell me now, and they say, well, this is what I'm seeing, and then that is taken to be interpreted as something else. So when we get the phone call saying, I was told I need to, my team, our team, they say, who told you? Because what we want to do is we want to try to identify not just that that's being said, but who, so that we can get back and help them to be providing the correct communication. And so we'll continue to work on that and appreciate any time you're hearing something like that that sounds off, ask Chris, get in touch with us, ask us. We'll confirm, no, that's not, and do you know who said it, so we can go to that survivor and have a conversation with them to try to figure out where the misinformation may have started. Thank you for bringing up the registration lists. Yes, the state interacted with the parish to identify what does your sheltering need look like right now. And again, appreciate that relationship that you all had to be able to get in touch with the survivors so close after the storm, and communication, which is still not nearly perfect right now, but was even worse then, to be able to get that information. That information was attained before we were even procured, and it was done so that the state could evaluate what the need might be, and then that the parish could start looking at those who are saying, yes, I have a need, so that the parish could prioritize their damage assessments to help to identify not only who has a need now, but who has a major damage or destroyed dwelling that they're going to continuously have a need for sheltering in this parish, because their home is not that solution and won't be that solution for a while. So that's how the list was used originally. And the parish, as they would clear individuals what their damage was, they would provide that list to us, and we would make sure that we had all the registration information. If there was other information we needed, like the details on their household members, where they want the site at, what's that address, can you sign a right of entry, release of information, and provide us a copy of your ID? That was started on as we got those lists. We did see that, we didn't have enough efficiencies in that process. And so we worked with the parish, and what they decided is, instead of only sending us as people were clearing, they ended up, I believe, on October 26th or October 24th, sent us the full list of 3,000 and said, okay, here's the full list. And we put them, we did an assessment of that list. There were some duplicates, there were some people out of parish, there were a few other things that we assorted them to where they need to go. And then we did a lookup against our registration, and then where we didn't have information for those individuals, we did an outreach to them as well to try to get them to, hey, we have your information. What information you provided is in the system. This is the additional information that we need. If you need help, call us, go online, come see us at the DRCs. We were in the DRCs by the third week of the thing, so we were able to work through those things and go through that list. So thank y'all for doing that work. It wasn't without effort, and it wasn't without also providing the success and the solutions.
Mr. Amadei?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's Amy, right?
Yes, sir.
I didn't catch the last name.
Corville.
Corville. Gotcha. And you answered a lot of my questions on how the information that we collected was used. I know it's a first-time thing, and there's going to be a lot of things happening. Does the state plan to debrief after all of this so that they can get this program ready for the next time? That way, all of this learning becomes more efficient. And he's shaking his head, so.
I'll verbally answer it if you'd like. This has never happened before. The state of Louisiana is once again leading the way. I'm very proud to be an emergency manager in Louisiana, to work with great emergency managers throughout our state. And it's things like this that we're so happy that our community is willing to take on the risk to find a better way. And there will definitely be after actions, but at the same point, we are traditionally an engineering firm, so we're constantly doing root cause analysis and looking at our processes to identify efficiencies. So if you have anything that you know, don't wait for an after action. Let us know now, and let's try to fix it now.
No, we'll definitely let you know on that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that the state is going to get on the ball that way in future events. Hopefully not us. Really don't wish it on anybody else, but so they can experience a lot even faster reaction. Because if not, then we'll be getting on our state delegation to make sure that they do that, and they've been pretty active as well. I just want to clarify a couple of things. Again, what my colleague, Mr. Trosclair, was talking about is a more clear explanation. Being a contractor and speaking with homeowners and commercial business owners and such, a lot of times people don't understand the terminology, so they're not clear. For example, I got a lot of calls on utility locates, and I told them, you can't do that. It has to be done by the contractor. But I think now what they were just asking was, do you know if there's a tap in your yard, like a drain clean out, that we can hook the trailer up to? So miscommunication was a thing. Misinformation is always a thing. Lack of information is always a thing. Fortunately, we have a great planning department that was assigned a task and really got on it and was able to give us as much information as we've been asking for within what they were being told, but they were able to go out and get it. So we appreciate Chris and his department for that. If you get a property released to be able to go on that property, Does that person have to be home?
No, sir.
Okay, so those things are important. That way you can get more inspections done if they have those things, and then you don't have to be waiting for anybody. And nobody's going to be able to complain that, I waited all day and nobody came. So we'll stress that it's important, if they haven't already done so, to get on the ball on their end and get that done as well. I think you and Steve so far have covered a lot of my questions. So again, for the FEMA people out there, listen carefully, because a lot of those same complaints are going to be coming in with your program as well. One of the biggest ones the FEMA guys are going to hear is flood zones. I know that with the state program, doesn't matter, they're putting them. And then we've gotten a lot of calls on people that were told at first that they couldn't because of a flood zone. So y'all be prepared to give an example on that, FEMA people. So with that, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Amy.
Yeah, and Council Amade, just to reinforce that, the flood zones, the special flood hazard areas, will not make a site become infeasible in this program. We are setting units in special flood hazard areas.
Right, that's what I understood. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Ms. Domingue?
Thank you, and I appreciate you being here, Amy.
ma'am.
And I want to echo what Mr. Trostclair said. I am very proud of the work that we did as a parish, and we were very proactive to get those names. Not everybody was on board, but luckily everybody did come around, and they were able to get that. I think we collected over 5,000 households that needed assistance. My concern is the numbers that we see right now. You've got 5,274 registered, and 405 are deployed. And so what are we doing with the rest of those residents? The other graph that you saw, that you showed, that I was very concerned about, is that it seems to be that we have more non-homeowners than what we have homeowners that are in need. And so I know we've got the Rebecca Plantation, but when is that being deployed? What's the plan for that? Where are those units even going to come from? Because it seems like we still need a lot. It seems like we still need a lot of units, and so where are they coming? When are they coming? We've got a lot of families who are still in need. My next question is, how long's the contract? So I'd like to know how long the contract is with Aptum, with the state. Is it going to end in April? Are you just going to come and pull the trailers from all these people? That's a real question that people have. And being in limbo, they've been through so much. I think we need to be able to tell people that about that. And then I have one more question after you can answer those questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was taking notes.
Okay. Yeah.
So the non-homeowners, this is a whole community approach. And so just because they registered in our program doesn't mean that this is the only solution that's being looked at for them. Because they're registered in this program, and they're hopefully registered in FEMA's program too, because that's so critical to happen to support them to go from temporary shelter to long-term housing. The state has that full list. And so the state is employing other state resources and working with other federal resources as to what does that population look like. Are they on another list that can be served? So there are some individuals that are non-homeowners who have HUD subsidized housing, and there are active outreaches to those individuals to identify what is your current situation, what does your long-term recovery look like, do you have assistance right now that's been provided to you but you're choosing not to use because you want to be where you are right now. How can we help you move on with your recovery? And so this program is just one of many programs. So the answer to what do we do with all of those non-homeowners, we look to see who of those, based off of information from federal and state and other volunteer organizations active in disasters and parish resources, who has a continued unmet need after you look through that list of other needs that could service them. And those are the ones that we're trying to focus in on and then potentially prioritize for the group site when it's available and have them lined up and ready to go. We have people who we've already identified, they have their registration complete. At the time that we're getting closer to we're going to start hauling units and bringing it into Rebecca Plantation to start leasing in individuals. We're going to look at all of those who are eligible, and they've set a group site, and we'll call them and say, do you still have a sheltering need? Is this still the number of people in your household who have a sheltering need? Do you have any other needs that we need to be aware of before we assign you this? Would you accept a unit at this location? What are your questions? What are your concerns? Okay, great. Remember our number. We're going to be giving you a call back.
Do we have a timeline for that?
At this time, we have been told by the middle of December that there will be the first spaces available. And stretching our construction management expertise within Aptum, and we've built group sites ourselves before, but there's other contractors that are doing this. It's a phased. So it's being constructed in a way that as pads are available, ready for units to come in, those are going to be released so that they can come in and start hauling in those units and lease them where they're not getting also those sheltered individuals in the way with construction activities. Where are the units coming from, if I'm tracking your questions?
Yes.
So the units, the state did an original solicitation for our units throughout the entire industry. Everybody said, you got a solution, a shelter in a box and all of this, send us what you have. And so what the state's done, and we've worked with them based off of what the registration shows, what the need might be, and we've made recommendations to them, and they go out and they procure more units. So there's no defined number of units because there's still not a defined need. Because as you get to a person and you ask them the question, do you still have a sheltering need? Some people are saying no. And we're seeing it right now when we're delivering a unit, and they're like, oh, well, I just got this solution too, so I think I'm going to take that. You can take the unit back and send it to somebody else. So there's no defined number of those coming in, and we're planning ahead. We know mid-December right now is the target, and so the state knows by then we're going to have that many units come in for staging, inspected, and ready to deploy out to the site. Contract end, I don't have our actual contract end date, but I'll talk program end. So the non-congregate sheltering program policy by FEMA, coordination between FEMA and the state, again, it's open to what is the need. And so there's continued conversation between FEMA and the state. This is what we're seeing. This is what the need is. Where are the other programs at? Not just FEMA direct housing. That's one, again, of many housing solutions. Where is the state of Louisiana, particularly the highly impacted parishes? And then in a parish-by-parish scenario, what does Terrebonne Parish look like that they have for solutions to them? How long is this going to be a need? At the same time, as one individual in operations at the Governor's Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness says, if your license says Louisiana, you know when hurricane season is. So we're also looking at that because these units are coming into the parish and they're camper units, and you're putting people to shelter in them. So that's all things that are being considered as part of this temporary sheltering solution. So the thing that we always tell individuals, if you have a sheltering need, register for this program. We're going to help work to identify a solution for you, but you've got to keep working with FEMA, with insurance, and with other resources so that this is just a temporary shelter for you to gather what you need, get your recovery plan together, and then move on.
Right, but as you know, insurance is a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
And so we're talking about December, and
Yep.
many of us don't even have a check yet.
Yes.
So I have a specific question, and I'm going to pull it up because this is a question that was asked today, but it's a question that's come up several times.
Okay.
And she says, she starts out with, I'm at my wit's end. And she said her camper was delivered by Aptum on November 18th. Everything's been hooked up the same day, and she's waiting on her inspection. And she was told to be patient. I guess they're in a hotel until December 4th. So we're talking the 18th to December 4th. She keeps calling and calling and calling, and they say 24 more hours, 24 more hours. Well, that 24 hours hasn't gotten there yet. And so, and this happens quite often. So is there a next level that they can go to, or do they still have to keep calling that IDA sheltering number? Because I can't tell her anything other than it's all up to Aptum, and so I have to throw you guys under the bus because, we can't really take responsibility because we don't know anything else about it. So when a situation like that happens, what do they do? Like, who do they go to?
So thank you for that example, because it is one that does happen. We should see it happen a lot less going forward because of a lot of the efficiencies that have been being worked on and put into implementation. We're really seeing them rolling now and doing well. At the same time, when you're contacted, and I know it's more often than you would like to be contacted to hear that, not that you don't want to be contacted, because that's what you're there for, is that relationship with your constituents. Let Chris know, let us know, so that we can immediately look into it and see what's going on. And one of the first things I'm going to do, we'll look at their file, we'll see what's going on, and I'm also going to look at when they called. Remember, if they call the number, it's recorded, and I can see when they called and figure out why they weren't provided more information. Did we give them a call out like we're supposed to, saying, oh, it's pending actions by you that need to be done for it to be feasible, or did you call the utility company because this is what's needed for your next step? So that gives us the opportunity to see, wait, this one needs more attention because it's being overlooked, and something happened in that relationship with them and the program where their answer was given the standard. It's been 24 hours. And so we'll also work on that with the call center to say if this is the answer and it's beyond this expectation time frame, then let us know so we can look into it deeper.
And I guess this last question is for Chris then. We get these a lot. I mean, I get them a lot. Are you okay with us sending you these messages every time we get them?
Or do we need to work on something?
Yeah, or do we need another point of contact?
Well, I agree that I'm open to suggestions, and we'll keep working with Aptum, just as we'll be working with FEMA on if we can improve that process, so much the better. But I would still like those to come to me, so don't be shy about that, because people tend to speak in generalities. So I'm waiting on my inspection. Well, there's 3 different inspections, maybe 4 if you count COVID cleaning and everything. So which inspection are they waiting on? So before I send it off to Aptum, the first thing I do whenever you guys send me them is I go into our permit system and see, do we have an open permit? Is the inspection they're talking about our inspection? Or has that already been done? So I do that because I want to make sure before I pass it on that I'm passing it on to the right person down the line. Otherwise, I'm just slowing it down further. So if it's an Aptum issue, or if it's, one of the utility companies, whoever, that way we can identify who that needs to go to.
Okay.
So, but if we come up with a different solution, you'll be the first to know.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Ms. Dolman?
That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Guidry?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm glad it wasn't raining outside.
No
Y'all wouldn't
tornado
have been here.
warnings,
That was
not
a month
sequestered at the
ago.
Capitol.
That was a month ago that we've been waiting for answers from you guys, and y'all said they all been in business for 40 years doing this.
Yes, sir.
A sad excuse because it's raining. You remember this, the night that y'all didn't come because it was raining? I had people living in tents. I had people living in cars. I had people living under houses. I had people living in homes with mold falling on their heads, and you guys wouldn't come because of the weather. How about these guys that's living in there, I mean, that's all I'm gonna get on about that, but, that, y'all should have been here, because I'm telling you, they had a lot of people suffering, and we could not give them answers. I mean, every time I go to the grocery store, I go to anywhere, the first thing is about these campers, and they, I know Steve said something about the last meeting that he had one of them delivered in his district, and it had a leak on a hot water heater. And the people that installed it told him to call the manufacturer of the camper,
Can you give me that information? Because if there is a manufacturer issue, and again, this might have been one of those communication things, we take care of that ourselves. The survivor in the unit doesn't have to do anything but let us know that there's an issue, and we take care of it, whether it's manufacture, routine maintenance, preventative maintenance, or an emergency maintenance. We take care of that, and we do it on the unit. So if you do still have the information?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I had her call the out of shelter number for a 3rd time and told her that tell them that she needed to speak to someone about getting her camper fixed. And evidently the 3rd call she made, because the 1st call she made, she was told it was a manufacturer's defect with no solution offered to her. 2nd call she made, I don't remember but 3rd call got resolved. She spoke to someone that pretty much, I guess, knew what was going on. And they actually went out and fixed the trailer. So it's fixed,
Okay.
and everything's good.
Okay. If you do have the number, if you don't mind sharing that with me, we'll go back and we'll look, because that is not the expectation. And going forward,
Right.
it's, they will receive I'm not gonna say a response, because I don't wanna misconstrue that saying we're gonna fix it within 24 hours, but we hear the issue, we're looking into it, we're putting a plan together for resolving. Thank you for bringing that up,
Yeah,
Councilman.
yeah, because I had to remember he had brought that up at last meeting, you know, and I was wondering why the person that's in this camper would have to call the manufacturer and when you go back through you guys,
Right.
you know, it
That
wasn't
shouldn't be
right,
the
you
case.
know?
Yep.
So I just wanted to make sure that was brought up to your attention that was a problem.
Thank you for that. Thanks for the opportunity.
And I had called Chris on this one individual that had a camper. He said, my camper was delivered a month ago yesterday, and nothing has been done with it. It was just sitting in the yard for a month, you know, and they have no home to live in, and they're looking at this camper, you know, for a month sitting in that yard without hooked up, you know, that's, I don't know what's the problem would happen from not getting that done, you know? But, I mean, that's sad, but, and you know, we get a lot of calls,
Understand.
you know what I mean? And I don't think really the way that we went about this, where all these council people had to get their information, because that puts a lot on every council person, because now, when I got these 1,700 names that I got personally myself, to these people, I'm responsible. They're not calling after them, they're calling Dirk Gidry to find out where's my camper. And no matter where we go, this is the questions we get, where's my camper, you know? And all I could do is say it's after them, you know? So that's not a good name on you guys, is that we don't know what's going on. We would have no information. It's a month ago that you guys were supposed to come over here and you were supposed to present us with this. So you know how many questions that we got and complaints? I own a business. And when I pull up in my parking lot at my business to go to work, there's people sitting in my parking lot to ask me, where's their camper? What's going on? And we have no ideas, but that was a month ago, you know, but I just hope y'all can get it better, you know. When is the date that probably y'all gonna get these last campers to people?
So the last camper would mean that we know
No,
that
yeah,
there's
yeah.
which,
In the future?
in the future?
Yeah,
It's going to depend on the need. We're going to continue working through the list of everyone who's in registration in Terrebonne Parish, and we're going to talk to them all and say, complete your registration is the first thing. Make sure you have everything completed. If you don't know if it's completed or not, call the phone number. If you don't have the ability, you don't do well on the phone, come see us at the Civic Center, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
yeah, because a lot of these people right now, they haven't had a home to live in or a place to live in
Understand?
95 and 96 days. And you know, you say, well, we can't give you the keys until everything is hooked up. But let
Power,
me tell
water,
you,
and sewer.
if you living in a tent or you living in your car, you don't care if that camper has electricity or not on it. At least it's a dry place to sleep, you know. So I know, you know, you might have to maybe tweak something about that, but when you sleeping in a tent, and then I'm gonna go again, you sleeping under that house, and that camper's sitting there, and it's dry, and you sleeping in the weather, it makes a big difference, you know? And you guys were responsible for, and I'm gonna call them the 10 cities, to put up these 10 cities?
No, sir.
No, not, that's FEMA.
that's another-
That's another deal with
the-
FEMA or the federal government program?
Let me clarify.
Go south.
The tent
Yeah.
cities, you're talking about the four base
Right.
camps
Y'all
that were
had nothing to
provided.
do with those.
That is through the state,
Go
through a
south.
different project, yes, sir.
Okay.
Those are the
You know.
base camps that are there as temporary sheltering as well.
You know, I really think there's got to be a better way to do this.
There's,
You know, because this, I mean, it's, you know, it's been a while these people are suffering, you know? And I live down the bar, and I live with them. I live every day with them. And I see them, and I know everyone personally. It's not like it's some constituent that I don't even know. I know them all by names. And it hurts me to see that they have no place to live, you know? And it hurts me that a camper sitting in somebody's yard for 30 days and not hooked up. And they're calling me, my camper's been there 2 weeks, my camper's been there 3 weeks, and I'm not hooked up. I'm still homeless, you know? So, I mean, there needs to be some kind of way, after all this catastrophe is over with, that we can have a better solution on how to do this, you know? Because
Right.
people's lives, I mean, you got kids, you know, you got families, you got older people that's sleeping outside. And it really hurts me personally that happens, you know? I appreciate what y'all doing, you know, and like I said, we need to streamline this some kind of way so we can get these campus to these people faster. So, because the weather's, so, I mean, thank God we got good weather. Thank God it hasn't been raining that much since this storm, you know? But these people need some kind of help. And, you know, and it doesn't come fast enough, but, you know, I got a house to live in, so I'm not suffering for 95 and 96 days now without a place to live. And I feel for those people, but I appreciate what y'all trying to do. I just think it needs to be faster. I just don't think a camper should be sitting in the yard for 30 days without without anything hooked up to it, just sitting in somebody's yard, or some of them 2 to 3 weeks sitting in that yard not hooked up. It's just sad to see that people are treated like that today. And you know, and I know it's not Optum's fault they had a hurricane. I know it's not the state's fault they had a hurricane. But it's our responsibility as being government officials to take care of our people. We're taking care of people all over this world right now, coming into this country from all kind of angles. We can help them out. We built a big old tent city for 5,000 people, for these people that came in from Afghanistan. We built that in a few days. But we can't get these people in Terrebonne Parish, hard-working people that worked all their lives, we can't get them housing. But we can get it for Afghanis. We can get it for people crossing the border illegally. I mean, as a nation, it's a sad situation to see that our people, after 95 and 96 days, are sitting in the cold, or they're sitting in the rain, you know, with no home. And they were tax-paying people. These people from other places that the government's taking care of never paid a penny of taxes. You know, I'm gonna get off my bandwagon, but I appreciate what y'all doing, but I just wish y'all could do it a lot faster. And when y'all bring these campers in these yards, I mean, I remember when FEMA did this, I mean, it was a few hurricanes ago, when they brought that camper in that yard, before they left that yard, it was hooked up, you know? So, I mean, I just don't understand it, you know? It just hurts my heart to see that these people are suffering.
And thank you for all of that, Councilman. The expectation shouldn't be that long, and I know that that's just one of many that you've received, but I would like to focus on that one. If you do have their contact information, they've been there for a month.
Well, I
because
gave Chris the information
Okay.
on that.
Okay, thank you for that. But if you hear any of those going forward, that should be a lot less that's happening, especially because of all the efficiencies and the efficiencies with the utility coordinations now. That window should very much be decreasing. We're never satisfied, especially because it's home, that it's fast enough. And I know 400 people sheltered, 1,200 individuals, doesn't mean anything if you're that person who wants to be in your home parish by your neighbors, whether there's a grocery store, a power, whatever or not. As an industry and as a community, as emergency management industry and as a community that continuously gets affected by these storms, trying to look every time to see what's a better way, what's a faster way, and what has happened is that more people are able to at least come back to their parish instead of being out of state or out of parish, because there are resources now that are available for people to shelter outside of a parish, but there's not that safe, secure, habitable way here. And what we're trying to do with this program and with the other programs and with all of your support, help, and input to be able to keep getting faster at delivering this solution and make a determination. You know, did it work well? I mean, you did get 400. How do you get more? How do you do it faster? How do you start from not starting from nothing the next time, as Councilman Amade brought up? So I appreciate your input and look forward to continue to work with y'all with the experience that you're hearing from constituents and then sharing with you the continued efficiencies that we've been able to make with, but not just with Terrebonne Parish, but with the state and other parishes as well.
You know, because, you know, and I'm going to get back here, it's not just you guys, you know, it's a big failure by the whole system. Because the next morning after this terrible hurricane, that's probably the worst hurricane that ever hit the United States of America, that somebody didn't just drive down here and said, hey, Houston, we have a problem. Let's not wait a month, 6 weeks before we get the ball started rolling, you know? That ball should have been started rolling the next morning after this hurricane. When I drove down the bayou, when I left my home and I drove down, I said, God, we have a humanitarian crisis. Because there was homes with no roofs. There was homes that were there that wasn't even there anymore. I knew within 15 minutes after leaving my house that we needed temporary housing. I knew we needed places to put these people, you know? And just God bless that nobody got injured real seriously or killed in Terrebonne Parish after such a major hurricane. So, I mean, we drug our butts on this. Not just the parish, not just the state, the federal government, but all of us as a whole. We let down the citizens of Terrebonne Parish, Lafourche Parish, St. Charles Parish, and I could go on, Plaquemines Parish. We let these people down. You know, they're not animals. They needed help, and they needed help now. So whoever's the big wig and whoever's in charge of this, when you drove down the highway, Houston, we have a problem. We need to get the ball rolling, not tomorrow. We need to get it rolling right now. We need to get temporary housing in right now. You know, it's just the system didn't work. You know, and Miss Amy, you just happen to be the one that's here for me to jump on a little bit. You know. And I appreciate you taking it and still smiling at me. But I think we let the citizens of Terrebonne Parish down. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Carly?
Good evening.
Good evening, Councilman.
There are a number of people that went to divorce court and some that didn't go to divorce court. And the ones that didn't go to divorce court, they accepted, they had to accept what the court had to say. I think it's been a situation with, that has been said, that people wanted to see you here. Not you, just the company, just the name. I didn't know your name, no one else knew your name here. Like Dirk said, to witness and to look out and be involved in the hurricane, I actually went out during the time of the hurricane to actually, secure a house. But I knew the next day that we had a problem, and it wasn't in Houston. It was in Houma, Louisiana, in Terrebonne Parish. And there were a lot of expectations, of course, that because the bureaucracy and the logistics and the devastation that we have within this community, I think even with a lack of communication, and my colleagues, along with me and some other members of the parish, Earl Hughes and all the others, that we gathered together to try to find a best solution. The resolve to this is not just Upton, here. I'm glad that you're here. There's trains, buses, and everything else, and crosses to kneel and throw people under the buses here. My objective here is to find a resolve. What is the best solution for Terrebonne Parish? This is a pilot program that we have here, and we're still trying to get to the moon. So there are a number of things I would like to bring out, point out, and have a concern about, and hopefully you'll bear with it. From day one, once we started, like Steve said, to collect these numbers and names, we started out, we wanted property owners. Somewhere down the line it changed so we can have anyone, whether you have property or you don't have property. See, we end up with a big list of names. I hear the number now, 3,000 people. We hear 1,500 trailers that were, 500 were going to this place, and each one of the councilmen had something in their district that would be an allotment, and we still don't have enough. Proper planning, I hear the Rebecca thing that they were talking about. That's a big issue, okay? With those names that we collected, I'm pretty sure somehow or another that everybody that may get a trailer that go to Rebecca should be in place. Everything should be ready to go where these people can be notified as soon as possible. I think it was rather hectic, and it still is hectic, for people to be sitting at their house trying to figure out whether they qualify, when it's coming, when it's not going to come, and when it's going to be hooked up. I think the whole process from start to finish, when you pull that trailer up to that person's house, everything, when you leave there, everything should be in order. There's no waiting on this and no waiting on that. You know what I mean? I'm not angry. It's just my tone of voice, and I'm actually like a Baptist preacher. If I get going, you might get a little hoop a little bit. So therefore, so what we gonna do is it's a process here. So we're looking at how many trailers will actually, when you first will contact, will audit to come to Terrebonne Parish. We're not gonna worry about the rest of them. Terrebonne Parish.
My understanding is and I may be incorrect, my understanding is there was no defined allotment per each parish. There was a initial order that was placed, and you'll forgive me, I might have to, if you want the exact number of the initial order, I can
We
get
can
that
do
number for you.
ballparks, but we're trying to.
But the
get
initial order was made.
Not just Hampton, because FEMA was mentioning all of this, and Energy is mentioning this, and some people looked at Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, so I'm not just at you. You just happen to have the mic right now.
Yes, sir.
You follow what I'm saying? So if there's a problem not with Hampton, there's a problem with Energy, or there's a problem with Terrebonne Parish, this is what we want to do right now before, after you leave here, and everybody else that's sitting out there that's leave here, the problem can be solved. And we're going in the right direction and quit throwing stones at each other. And when the people out there in Terrebonne Parish are suffering from our inability to get along with each other and sit down and make a phone call. I mean, we've been at this for 90 days. I don't know how long when the first trailer came over here, but somehow or another we should be efficient. This is America. You know, I mean, we're not a third world country, but I know there's a lot of money being spent on these trailers, and a lot of efforts is being put forward for the citizens of Terrebonne Parish, and somehow or another, it's just like one can assume that we dropped the ball. So as we go on, we want to get those numbers. Okay, so it's not you, it just happened to you. Anybody else want to take our place?
There's and there is data that is being collected as to what the continued need is going to be for the parish, and then what resources are going to be available to them. And that is one of the benefits of having all those registered individuals and being able to keep the registration short, but with enough information that we can then continue to have contact with them to help them get to their full recovery, whether it's through this program, other sheltering programs, or housing solutions.
Okay, so Rebecca's about 250 people, right?
237.
So we still
So
short.
about 250, you're
We're
right.
still short, aren't we?
We're still, yes,
That's,
yes.
that's what we're trying to get
So
at
the-
now. We're trying
so-
to solve this problem.
So 250, you're right, for those who don't have a feasible private site in Terrebonne Parish, who still have an unmet sheltering need at that time, and their home is major damage or destroyed.
Okay.
Yes,
So-
still a shortfall there.
Okay.
We're not
so
done.
We have Rebecca. Now we have people that have trailer parks, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has anyone been coming forward? So I just I heard you ask, saying that, you know, man, if you need the number or
Yeah.
the website, you can do this,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so we're getting that out there to all of you guys that have trailer parks out there. And now that's another thing. A lady called me and said, well, that's a possibility of this trailer park is near, is in my district. That's an influx of people that's going to be there. There's a concern. Some of the people in Terrebonne Parish. I'm saying to the people in Terrebonne Parish while you're here, it's the fact that, you know, if you're living in a home and someone does not live in a home, Carl Harding is going to actually try to find housing for the person that don't have a home. So whether, you know, I mean, whether it's going to be taken as political or not taken as political, is the citizens of Terrebonne Parish will have their needs taken care of. And I will actually lobby for that. Okay, so the advancement with these other people that we have these contracts, that's what we're looking forward to. I've seen some things that, you know, I mean, is there anything that Hampton, let's put it like this, is there anything that Hampton felt as if Terrebonne Parish did not assist them in? And they could have been a little bit better at what they were doing.
I'll tell you that we've had a great partnership with Terrebonne Parish, and I believe Terrebonne Parish hopefully feels the same way about us, and with the state. It's a whole community approach. It's not just Aptum. And yes, I am the one here at the mic till somebody pulls me away, or until your questions are answered. But it's a whole community approach. I think that we have a great partnership. We're not done with the efficiencies to continue to make it better. And this is just the first piece of it. Yes, it's over 3 months, but this is still a long-term recovery ahead for the parish.
Yeah, it says haul, install, contractor, direct, and deliver to the unit. Haul, install.
Haul and install
Contract.
contractors are the 13 solicited haul and install contractors, state contractors.
State contractors.
Yes, sir.
Well, these state contractors, how many of them from Terrebonne Parish? The contractors that you use in setting up these trailers?
How many of them have an office, or they're based in Terrebonne, or that they're assigned to Terrebonne?
How many are local people? You sign a contract, and the contract through Apton has, there are a certain percentage, you don't?
The state, the contract with the haul and install contractors is with the state of Louisiana, not with Aptum. So the state of Louisiana has 3 contract mechanisms on this project. One is their program manager, us. One is the haul and install contractors, which are 13 contractors, and one are maintenance contractors. Those contracts are with the state of Louisiana.
The haul install contractors, 13 of them,
Yes, sir.
and they come from Terrebonne Parish or throughout the state.
I can ask the state for the information on where those are based out of.
So there are no guidelines that we should use local people to actually do these things?
I haven't looked at the solicitation package that went out with the state in a long time, so I can't answer you definitively on that, but it is a public record, and we can pull that out and make sure you have access to it. We'll get you some of those answers.
Well, any of those are minorities?
I know that it has been the governor's concern to make sure that the Louisiana and the minority and other contractors in the state of Louisiana are aware of the program and have opportunities to participate in the recovery of Louisiana for Hurricane Ida.
Okay, so point
And
blank
so that is
question. One blank question, do you have any of that work
I
with
don't
you?
have that
Okay,
information
yeah.
myself, but I do know that it is a concern and that there were efforts that were being made. I don't have the results, but we will get them for you.
Okay, I know other people want to have a few things, and it's a lot that I can actually try to get to say. It's just a point to be made.
Yes, sir.
It's just the fact that I don't want to sit up here and give wrong information to other people. We have to answer to our people. We have to answer for our people. We have a lot of people that are out there that have concerns. And it's not just you, because if Chris Pulaski, which I, a very, very smart guy comes up here, he know I can make a phone call to him. But I couldn't make a phone call to you. When the engineer comes up here, I'm pretty sure, they're going to have their big boy shoes on. Because there are some things up here, it's not affecting me like that. But I'm in the position to speak for the people, and I'm going to speak for the people. And when you guys come up here, that's the objective that we have up here as a whole. I'm sorry that, Anthem has been actually thrown under the train, not the bus, under the train, because we were on y'all, I was here when it was raining. That's a lot of money that this parish is actually putting out, and I'm pretty sure you're not doing this for free.
That it, Mr.
Thank you.
Crowley? Thank you. Steve, you had something that you wanted to respond to?
Amy, thought I wrote it down when you were speaking earlier in your presentation, but my memory serves me right. You said that right now statewide you're averaging a deployment of 30 to 50 a day?
50 a
50
day.
a day.
50 deployments a day.
Okay, and that's statewide.
Yes, sir.
And 20, roughly half of that is in Terrebonne Parish.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are y'all anticipating that number rising any? Because that's still, to me, 25 a day with the amount of people in Terrebonne Parish that's still without, you may look at 3 or 4 more months before you get everybody situated. So if that number don't come up from 25 a day, we gonna be looking at this for a long time. We'll be having you back here sometimes in the next couple of months, asking the same questions. So my thing is, what are y'all doing to try to increase this? Do y'all have a mission, a target mission number? Do you have a program that y'all working on to try to improve it, bringing in more contractors or whatever? Because, at 25 a day, we're still a long ways out from satisfying the needs of the parish. So that's my question. What do y'all anticipate to getting up to? How do y'all anticipate to get more?
So we're never satisfied with the number. At the same time, for perspective, 50 deployments a day in a traditional program doesn't happen. The most you can get is some number below 50, and that's only when there's a group site ready to go and it's bring in the trailers one after another and plug them in. 50 deployments, we're not satisfied with it. We don't have a number of what's the target number per se, because we don't want to limit ourselves. It's every efficiency we can find every day. One thing is, the site we're using now, the staging site, is a larger site. We can accept a whole lot more trailers at a time and get them in the yard, do inspection to make sure that they meet the scope that's developed by the state, that unit is good and in working order before we push it the rest of the way down into the area. and then get it out the gate as fast as possible. So there's efficiencies created there so that you're able to, state procures more, get more in, get them inspected, and get them out as quickly as possible. Our site inspections, we're trying to get it to a geographic approach as much as possible, which is why it's important to target those last group of individuals that are those registration incompletes, getting them, finding them, getting their registration complete. So after it's complete, we can request that site inspection within 24 hours, get those go, so that you have a buildup of more site inspections ready to go for deployment. Those are the things that's going to help. So the more people are able to complete their information and us get in touch with them when we're trying to get in touch with them, that's going to help those things. But we're not satisfied yet. We keep going, but in perspective, it's still faster than some solutions have been in the past, but that's still not a good enough answer for us. We're still leaning forward and continuing to increase it. What is that number ultimately going to be for Terrebonne Parish? I don't know at this time, but I would like to continue being able to provide you information on a frequent basis so that you can see, too, that number climbing at the rate that we're wanting it to continue to climb upwards.
Right, but I'm, like I say, trying to go back and look at some numbers. I think we around 2,700, if I saw from one of these deals, 2,700 in Terrebonne Parish that are basically
That's self-declared major damage or destroyed.
self-declared major
Yes, sir.
damage. So we know we need 27.
About 1,100 are in a registration incomplete status, and we're looking at that to see what is incomplete, and we have several different methods to reach out to them. If you have an email address, you probably recently got an email from us that says, hey, do you still need sheltering? Because some of those may no longer have a need. They have another solution.
Right.
So we need to understand that to decrease that number.
But I mean, if we have 20, let's say we had 2,500 and we're doing 25 a day, we're looking at 100 days. If we keep that same work going. So we're looking at another 3.5 more months
So,
at a
Right.
minimum.
so another thing
Could be
that's going to
less,
help.
could be more, but that's still a long time that people are doing without.
Right. So another thing that helps is a group site. So just as I said, the only time in a traditional program that you see a large number on a day, kind of like we're, less than what we're seeing, but a substantial number a day, is when a group site opens. The more we're able to identify group sites that Terrebonne Parish residents can go to, when that group site's ready or stages of that site is ready, you're able to haul a bunch to there. And those sites are sites that's just like when you're camping on the weekend and you pull up with yours and you plug in the faucet, hook up to the sewer, and plug in the camper. We don't have that here. It takes a little longer because you're having to establish those utilities at each site. So that slows it down. Group sites increases it. Complete registrations increases that rate. And that's what we're working on here.
The problem we have with group sites in my district and Mr. Guidry's district and some of Mr. Bavin's district, these people don't want to live in a group site. They have property, they want their trailers on their property. They don't want to leave their property.
Right.
Terrebonne Parish is not isolated, but we all know the crime issues we have throughout the whole nation, and Terrebonne Parish is not isolated from that. So we have a lot of theft issues. We have people that don't want to leave their properties because they're scared to lose a little bit they saved from the storm. So, naturally a group site makes numbers look good, but it don't necessarily help the people that I represent, people Mr. Derek Guidry and Mr. Danny Bavin represent, as a majority, as a general rule. You may have a couple that were willing to move to a group site, but for the majority and the masses down there, that's why they live in tents. That's why they live under their house with tarpaulins wrapped around it, keeping stuff out of it. But anyway, I just want to see what was your protocol to try to increase these numbers if you have one.
Continuing more active outreach, identifying those individuals, and then the staging site efficiencies that we've created, and finding more group sites when possible for the areas that make sense for Lower Terrebonne. We understand you do have more owners with property that want it there on site. Yes, sir.
Ms. Domingue, you had a follow-up.
Thanks, Amy.
Sure.
You were a trooper tonight. I just want to remind the
So
public.
y'all are only going to do like 2 minutes for each of them, right?
Yeah, I hope you brought your dinner. Yeah, no, and I would like to remind the people in the public, I know we beat you up tonight, but, Aptum and Ida Sheltering, They are not just servicing Terrebonne Parish, they're servicing Lafourche, and they're servicing,
Your name?
St. John, St. Charles, St. James, I mean, all these other parishes, and so you guys have a huge job, and you have provided way over the number of units to Terrebonne Parish than what FEMA has, and not to throw FEMA under the bus, but we were told that FEMA's not actually coming in until April, and so being proactive, and the state being proactive in implementing that program, and I know it was a pilot program, and this is the first time that this really has happened. I applaud you guys. I do hope, though, that after you leave here tonight, and when you go debrief tomorrow, you know, you guys come up with a solution to make this, speed this up, and to expedite this a little bit more, so that we can provide these services. But to the people out there watching this tonight, just know that Aptum is the reason why we have those few trailers, and so I do appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you, that Councilwoman, and I humbly thank you for the comment, but this couldn't have happened without your support of the parish and all of the parish offices. It couldn't have happened without the governor's office and the governor's office of Homeland Security in the state, and state legislature stepping up and saying, we're not going to take the standard again, we want something better. And for FEMA to say, okay, what are you thinking? And to get creative together, FEMA headquarters, FEMA Region 6, and then the FEMA officials that are here today. It's not perfect. I don't think anybody's satisfied. I think everybody, we want to have those small victories and celebrate, but we know that it doesn't mean anything to that person who's still not in a safe, secure, habitable shelter. So thank you for that. Chairman?
Okay, and just from the chair, I agree with everything that's going on. The theme of tonight thus far has been for y'all to expedite the
Yes, sir.
situation. Get as many as out there as possible. I want to just jump on one thing just for a second, the communication part of it. Every contractor that works for you represents Aptum,
Yes,
whether
sir.
they work for XYZ. I'm in the seafood business, and we have 5 salesmen in 5 different states. And when I text them something about what's coming in and what they have to sell, I make them reply to me that they got that text or they got that email to let them, that lets me know they saw it and they read it. I'm asking you for Aptum to put out to every one of your contractors do's and don'ts. Don't tell people they need a temporary pole when they don't need a temporary pole. Save somebody $1,200. I'm just asking y'all maybe to be a little bit proactive. Get it out to everyone that represents Aptum and make them reply back to you. And then if there's a problem, if they say, well, I didn't get that information, no, then you have a hard copy saying, yes, you did. Because we need to dispel some of these rumor and innuendo that are out there. Listen, we're going to continue to get calls. If you put out 100 trailers a day, we're still going to get calls, all right? But I just want to make sure that everybody throughout your organization knows exactly what the top of the organization wants them to say and wants them to do. Okay?
We'll work on communication. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and
Thank you all.
we'll bring the next one up. Someone from FEMA? Oh, Chris, come back up.
If I may, I just wanted to point out, I mean, already we're starting to see an improvement. I know Amy had mentioned the number of roughly about 50 on average statewide. Just between yesterday's numbers and today's numbers, Aptum had 36 trailers deployed and 26, between yesterday and today, 26 leased in. So the numbers are going up, but I'm also really encouraged. They're not going up at the same rate per day. The rate of increase daily seems to be going higher, so I just wanted to
Good.
point that out. Mr. Philip Price is here from FEMA, along with others. Mr. Philip is the direct housing unit logistics and the manufactured housing unit lead. So Mr. Philip is going to talk a little bit about what they're doing, and we'll take it from there.
While Mr. Phillips coming up here, we just want to make sure everybody understands it's 2 different types of programs. Aptum, short-term trailers. FEMA, more long-term. Not the long-term that we're going to need, but a longer term than the travel trailers. Yes, sir. Just state your name and address, please.
My name is Philip Price. My address is 400 Royal Oak Drive, Clinton, Mississippi. Currently, it's 3rd Street in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
So, good evening. So what can I do for you? I know some of the things that we discussed about were special flood hazard areas. As we all know, in the beginning, there was a miscommunication, I guess, between FEMA and the parish on exactly what we were looking for. And we finally got the executive order, I believe, on November the 15th that allowed us to start putting mobile homes in the special flood hazard area. We had already had approval to put travel trailers there. And then we could put mobile homes up to base flood elevations of 44 inches. And that was determined by the SIR, that was with site inspection request that was completed by the contractor and reviewed by the EHP in mitigation. So we were going by those factors in issuing, our work orders to come to the parish. The NIPSI is our National Processing Center. That is where everybody that registers with FEMA will register at one of the 4 NIPSI offices. There's 2 in the Northeast, 1 in Denton, Texas, and 1 in California. Out of the registrations that were received, there was 2,390 of those registrations have been reviewed by the National Processing Center that were determined to be eligible for direct housing through FEMA. They have another 197 to review, then they'll be through with their review process. Out of those, the JFO in Baton Rouge, individual assistants will also review those and then make an actual call to the applicant to discuss their actual needs and what they need as far as household composition. 2,390 of those have been completed. Out of those 2,390, 602 of the applicants that they interviewed stated they had already found another housing option. Another 59 just declined the FEMA unit itself. So as of right now, we've issued 947 SIRs for Terrebonne Parish for reviews to see, inspect the sites, see what type units that would go there. And I think prior to the executive order, we had about 550 that were infeasible because of the special flood hazard area. And I think everyone sitting here got those calls wanting to know why is FEMA, or why is the parish telling us we cannot have a mobile home. All of those have been reviewed again. Those have been sent back to EHP, and we're in the process of running those through the system again to get them ready for work orders to be issued. As of today, we've issued 148 work orders for Terrebonne Parish for installation of units. So far, we've got 21 of those have been RFO'd and ready for license in. We also have another 25 that are RFO'd by generator. For a mobile home especially, and some of the travel trailers, it's a requirement, it's a need that we install a temporary power pole. Well, that includes the fact that, we have to get with the power provider and make arrangements with him to connect that power pole to the service. We have individual assistants who contacts that applicant when that work order is issued to let them know they need to get that second account set up. We also have a power team at the office in Baton Rouge that is in constant contact with the Entergy provider to let them know this is their second account number, where is it in the status, what do we need? Do we need the permit from the parish office? Has the permit been sent to Entergy? Entergy, have you got it scheduled? So we're leaning forward with trying to make a shortcut between the time that unit is ready for power and the time that power is connected to that unit. Let's see. And I know that, Mr. Chairman, you had mentioned something about some of your constituents are living in cars or living in tents. If you'll get with Chris and let him know, those become priorities with FEMA. We don't know that we're sitting in Baton Rouge. We're not out here in the parish today on a day-to-day basis. So if you have people that really need help and need it, soon, if you'll let us know, we'll do our best to make those priorities, because we do have priority lists that we send out work orders for each day. And, you let us know, we'll be glad to do what we can to get those people housed. We're also looking at Rebecca Plantation as far as a group park. I think the packet, they're waiting for the site drawings to be completed. The packet should go to contracting officer hopefully within the next 30 days. And hopefully we can have dirt start turning dirt by the end of the year. So that's a plan for that. We're still looking for additional sites to build group parks. We have 3 people in the field on a daily basis going in parishes that, there is a need for those, group parks. I think right now that there are 3 parishes, Lafourche, Livingston, and Terrebonne, that they're concentrating on. That's where the greatest need is for our group parks and egg sites. Egg sites are generally constructed on, say, an old Walmart parking lot. Those sites that can be put up in a short period of time because all utilities are built above ground. And so, it's about half the time span of building group parks. So that's something that they're looking at and doing negotiations and talking with landowners. One of the things that, we're having, I guess, concerns about is finding enough space because, like it's been indicated tonight, we can build group parks and it appears there's still going to be a shortage before it's all said and done. But individual assistance is also looking at rental properties that you have in Terrebonne Parish, and they are talking with the property owners to see if they're interested in leasing those apartments for direct lease. Then they have what it used to be called MLRP, is multifamily repair. That's where they go into apartment complexes or anybody that has rental properties with 2 units or greater that has some damage, not major damage, but something that FEMA would be able to go in and help them repair and bring up to standards with the understanding that they would lease to FEMA at a less rate than what their normal lease would be. So they're working with that on a daily basis also. As far as Entergy, like I said, we have a discussion with them on a daily basis, as far as the needs and issues that we see in getting power provided to some of the units. As far as the time span, right now it's about 14 days from the time a work order is issued for a mobile home till it's ready to be powered up and try to put somebody in there. As I mentioned, we're also on the 2nd and 3rd contracts for the haul install process. Part of the process is before even the power is brought to that unit, once the contractor has that unit installed and set up, which contractually should be between 5 and 7 days, the last part of that process is for them to bring a generator to that unit, actually fire the generator up and let that unit run for about 4 hours to determine if there's any issues with any of the appliances, utilities, or anything, water, whatever. Some of the issues we are finding with some of the places, some of the sites we go to that you don't really see on an initial site inspection is we're having sewer issues, especially in places where they had flooding or generally those septic systems are non-functional because they're filled up with silt and have to be pumped out. As part of the process of doing the installation, that is in the scope of the work contract to be able to do that. So lift stations is going to be another big issue. The runs we're having to make with the sewer lines, sometimes the fall does not meet what it needs to be, so we have to install a septic system, a lift station, grinder pump. Let's see. I've talked enough. I'm going to give you a chance to ask the questions that you're dying to ask.
Thank you, Phil. We have a few questions.
Yeah, you already heard a lot of the similarities as we were speaking with Miss Amy. But Mr. Price, one of my concerns, and maybe this is not how it's working, but this is how we were told that it was going to work, that in the state's Jump Start program, we informed the people that we were collecting the information from to apply for both.
Right.
That way they have their FEMA number, they're ready, because if they needed a little bit longer term solution, because we were looking at the state program being about 6 months, that they would roll over into FEMA's program with that same trailer or travel trailer that they would be provided through the state. Is that accurate?
That is accurate in some of the cases. I'm not sure. I think around 4,000 is the latest number that I heard is what's projected, for Optum in their program as of right now. And there's a good possibility 60% of those would be eligible. So that's 40% that will not, and we will not be able to accept those units.
Right. Well, not so much the units, but as far as the people,
Yeah.
You said 602 stated that they had already had some other solution going.
Right.
I'm just hoping that they understand that if they're on the state program, they're not saying we don't need it. We don't need the FEMA program, when in fact they may, and what they might have to do later. So I would just say for whoever's fielding these calls that they make sure that people understand that just because you're jump-started with this FEMA-approved state program, if you're going to need it a little bit longer, you want to make sure that you don't decline FEMA. You want to stay in FEMA's program as well. I also heard you speak of coordinating with Entergy. We have two other power companies. We have Terrebonne Parish, the Homa utility company, and we also have Salika, a local co-op. Are y'all in communications with them as far as power too?
We've had 3 conversations with Slico this week.
Okay.
So we're in communications with all the all the utility providers, just to be sure we're all on the same page. And it's something that Slico informed us yesterday that as of now, if we put a unit on that site, say a mobile home, generally most homes do not have 400 amp meter panels, breaker boxes, because it takes 200 for your damaged dwelling and 200 for the mobile home.
Mm-hmm.
What they're willing to do is they do not want to install a second meter. So if there's a meter on that primary panel on the house, they're willing to have our electrician add an additional 200 amp circuit system to that panel and just use the 1 meter to run both units. So that's going to be a savings of time there. Also, in the plug and play, as we call it, with travel trailers,
Right.
generally we can, if the damaged dwelling has power to it, we can actually not run a temporary power pole, but run directly to that meter box and breaker box and wire it that way. And that saves probably 2 to 3, even sometimes a week, as far as time goes.
Yeah, and I've seen some of those hookups, and that again is an efficiency. Thank you, Mr. Price. That's all I have, sir. Yeah.
Okay, then go back to you were asking about the number, and I believe how many registrations do you have with the state program? Was it about 5,000?
It was about 5.
For Terrebonne
By
Parish?
5,200.
5,200, yeah.
Okay, well, just to go back to what we were talking about, you only have 2,500 that are eligible under FEMA. So that gives you kind of an idea of, 50 to 60%.
Thank you.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir.
And I found my dealings with Red Cross, FEMA, and HUD, and because I'm more urban than what some Dirt and Steve and the rest of the guys, they're more rural down the bayous. And because you're saying FEMA, but I have a number of people that are inside the urban portion of Terrebonne Parish that has been displaced, such as the high rise. There are some number of people that are in what's called the center of the circle. Some people in apartment complexes, those that are renters. And there are some circumstances that we actually have some camps. There are some people in the camps that are concerned about FEMA and a FEMA trailer. There's even Apton just left here, and the state had the trailers. Everyone called for FEMA trailers. They don't say Apton trailers, the state trailers. They say FEMA. Y'all with the aces on the block. But I'm trying to actually find out for the people that are displaced that may be in one of those camps, and then they want to actually transition to perhaps another location. It will be more personal with a FEMA trailer. There are some people that are in hotels that's saying that FEMA is going to shut down by the 4th of this month. And there are people that are often outside Terrebonne Parish in the state of Louisiana that seems to be a problem for the citizens of Terrebonne Parish that are displaced outside Terrebonne Parish that I have. And even the people that are in these base camps that we call them, they will want a more personal atmosphere to have. So, it's not so much to really have I would like for you to kind of go through that process of how we get those people into those trailers even though they don't have property. Right. So, you're on the mic, and then we are streamed and televised, and hopefully we can actually soothe some of the concerns of the people that may be watching you at that podium.
Okay, we've got a contractor by the name of Dewberry that was hired it was before I got here, and I got here September the 9th. What they were doing is canvassing all 10 parishes that were declared for direct housing and looking to find commercial park sites available. And there was 4 categories that they were looking for in these parks. One was feasible. One is feasible near term, one is feasible long term, and one is not feasible. So what we had them to do is go in and make a determination and give us a synopsis of what it would take. And of course, the feasible, those are pretty much ready to go. If the park owner needs some of his septic system upgraded or power pedestals installed, he doesn't have the funding, we have the ability under the haul install contract to do that for him in consideration of a lesser pad lease. The near term is the same way. They've gone back to those parks 3 or 4 times. And I know this is a rambling story, but basically it's going to go to the bottom point. We're looking at commercial parks to try to take the place of group parks and egg sites for 2 reasons. One, it's more personable. To me, it's more of a home atmosphere than you look at a group park. Every pad's going to be just like the next pad, and it's going to be maybe 75 mobile homes in a row down through there. You know, there's no trees, there's a green space for the kids to play. But to me, that is an option, you know, that we can try to make a family or a survivor feel more comfortable, you know, in a place like that, more secure. Because I know if you dealt with group parks in the past, you know security is going to be an issue.
Yeah, and the point I'm trying, maybe I didn't relate this to you, is the fact that those people that sat in the hotel, these camps that we're saying that they are full, they're wondering if FEMA is going to have any type of assistance to them, because we're hearing Afton saying at the end of the month, we're hearing FEMA is going to be later on next year or something like that. So we're still going to have people in a position that they're in hotels, they're getting ready to get put out of the hotels, or they're in positions, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is there any assistance for them?
Yes. If they're eligible for FEMA assistance, they're eligible for rental assistance. Rental assistance is a monthly assistance if they can find a place to rent, you know, whether it's here, whether it is, you know, now, the best idea would be for them to find a place here, but in reality that may not happen. They may have to go to the next parish up or the next parish northwest of here. But if they can find a place to lease or to rent, an apartment or whatever, FEMA will subsidize or either pay for that rental assistance on a monthly basis. The only requirement for them is that they have to have a receipt for where they paid that rent, and for them to show that they are actually looking for a permanent housing project. But right now, permanent housing for them, especially if they were in Section 8 or if they were in a rental apartment here, that's probably going to be a time coming also, because I don't know how fast some of these properties can be put back online.
So would there be, I think I heard someone say that, you know, maybe the people that may be getting those vouchers from FEMA may have until April to have theirs, but then HUD is a little bit different, where they're people that are more seniors, they have an indefinite opportunity to get their vouchers. Is there a limit to the time that FEMA is allowing people to actually get those vouchers?
That is something I do not have an answer to, but I will get an answer for you, sir, and I'll get that to you tomorrow. I'm getting old and I had a thought, and if I don't write it down, I don't remember it.
I know the feeling.
So,
I write it down too.
I know what it was. As far as the TSA, which is the hotel stays, and that is something that can be requested by the state, is my understanding, for that to be extended. Whether that's been done or not, I do not know. But that may be something you could get with GOSEP to ask them if that's been, you know, requested.
I'm sure that'll be something that we'll run through Chris as well, okay? Is that it, Carly?
Yeah, I'm good.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Mr. Price, and I'll say the same thing to you that I told to Afton just a minute ago. Try to get that communication chain down from the top all the way down to the bottom, and quit telling people that I can't put a FEMA trailer there because you're in a flood zone. I mean, we all knew a month ago that that
Right.
was out of the picture, but yet I know 2 or 3 of us have heard that just this week again, okay?
Okay.
Because of the fact that Mr. Guidry and Mr. Trosclair and I represent the lower end of the parish, and the base flood elevation is,
Right.
some areas is 14, 15 feet.
And-
But it's that lack of communication, but more so miscommunication that really causes a lot of the problems.
Okay, and this is not a suggestion, this is not a request, this is just a comment I'm going to make. Right now, we can install travel trailers or RVs in a spot in the special flood hazard area with a base elevation of less than 18 inches or less. Last year, in meeting with the parish council in Cameron Parish, they had some of the same problems you're having with it. They come up with the idea to make a request that they be allowed to put travel trailers below the base flood elevation. That's a determination that's made by Region 6. That's not made by anybody here. And I'm just making a comment.
Okay. You mentioned something earlier about 44 inches.
44 inches, that is a Region 6 requirement. As far as what the parish has granted to us is, you got base flood elevation is 8 feet, adjacent land is 2 feet, so you got a net of 6 feet. We can put that mobile home in that 6-foot base flood elevation. Our only requirement is that we block it up to 44 inches. Anything, and that's a Region 6 policy. If the base flood elevation is 12 inches, you've still got to block it up to 44 inches. So,
I'm gonna ask Mr. Guidry to put his light on because something was brought up to you yesterday about insurance.
Yeah.
Would you please expound on that a little?
Well, I'm gonna go a little bit further.
Okay,
Just
that's fine.
answer what you were saying, Danny, about the 44 inches. I seen them putting up it must be FEMA trailers, because I know it's not no GOSAP trailers. And they were blocking them up about 44 inches, and that was in Steve's district on Klondike Road. I saw that they were doing that. But, yes, my wife went to my insurance company, last week, and, the insurance lady told her that she was been getting a lot of inquiries about insurance prices because the people that they were talking to were requesting that they have flood insurance and homeowners insurance on these trailers that FEMA was gonna deliver, and I said, there's no way possible, but it was more than one inquiry that they were getting from citizens asking about the insurance prices, and I knew it was wrong, but I
Okay.
don't know if it's FEMA representatives giving out that information that they have to have it.
okay, and what I'm doing, I'm paying attention, but it's the same thing with the question you asked a while ago about Terrebonne Parish. That's not your determination as to whether or not to put them in a flood zone. We've got external affairs here, and what I'd like to see and what I'm going to request them to do is put it out a public service announcement. How they do it here through local media, through the television, through the radio, whatever, just explaining the issues that you're seeing here. So that would be something that I'm going to add on it also. And you're exactly correct. FEMA does not require insurance of any type from the survivor on any unit that they're putting to.
Right. The only thing I would, tell these people, I'm pretty sure you could put renter's insurance on these, for your private property.
If you want private property
Yeah,
insured.
that you own, and I think that's what they should do, because if they put in these houses and these trailers in a lower flood elevation where there's flood problems, they should get some kind of insurance on these, and, I mean.
On the content.
It doesn't cost much to get the content insurance,
No,
so
it's
it would
cheap.
be my recommendation that these campers that would be brought down, these buyers, would
Right.
get some kind of insurance on them. And it's not homeowners or not wind and fire, but content damage.
That's it.
And
I don't know if they were getting confused with some of the things that, if you are eligible for individual assistance funding to rebuild your property, now as a part of that, grant that you receive from FEMA, it is required that if you're in a flood zone, you keep flood insurance on that property.
Right.
and
Yeah,
homeowners
we've been through this
Okay,
for a
I
while. We
figured
all
you
know
did.
about this,
Right.
and this was specifically on the campers themselves.
Well, FEMA takes care of that, you know, from the point of loss.
So, oh, yeah, that, like I said, that was brought to my attention last week.
Okay.
So, all right, I mean, you know, if you're gonna put out, I think y'all should put out something that letting the people know that they don't have to be, to get a camp that, in a flood elevation situation, plus with this insurance, to make
Right.
sure that they understand that you don't have to provide insurance on these mobile homes.
That, we'll take care of that, sir.
Yeah, and, you know, and, because with FEMA, that's been my biggest phone calls, is telling me that they can't have a camper because it's below flood, base
Right.
elevation, you know?
Some of the issues that we are seeing, and it's not just in Terrebonne Parish, is some of the sizes of the lots are just not big enough to put a mobile home on. The smallest mobile home we have is a one-bedroom express, which is 8 feet wide, and the box itself is 48 feet long with a tongue that's 52 feet long. So we do our best to make those fit. It may not be exactly what that homeowner needs, but if they, you know, individual assistants will talk to them, and if it's something that they're willing to accept, you know, for their housing, then we're gonna do everything we can to put it in there.
Well, yeah, because I feel if, you're gonna bring them something 8 foot wide, it doesn't matter. If you're
Right.
sitting in a tent under your yard,
Yeah.
8 foot is nice, that's a mansion to you, you know,
Yeah.
so.
And I'm not sure when the last time you had a FEMA declaration here in the parish. And I don't know,
Ida,
And I
Ika
don't-
Rita, one of them.
and at that time, they did not have a tank and pump system that went with them.
No.
I don't know if you've seen the installation of some of these mobile homes. They've got an outside building. That is a tank and pump system that runs the fire suppressant system inside those units. It has sprinklers in each of the rooms there, and the tank itself holds between 3 and 350 gallons of water that, if that sprinkler goes off, and if one sprinkler goes off, it's not all. It just depends on how bad the heat is in the unit. Then it'll put that water in the unit, put that fire out. Now, I'm from Southwest Mississippi. I grew up about 90 miles from Baton Rouge, and I've always had a fun time in Louisiana, and I still like to have it. And it's probably not right when these folks come by that's never seen one, that's got the nosy neighbors. They ask what that is. I tell them that's the outhouse. They don't have bathrooms inside.
Mr. Price, thank you very much for all your information.
And if y'all need anything, just get Chris to call me, and I'll do
We will.
anything I can to help you.
Thank you. Chris, do you want to come up and introduce the next?
Yeah, I'd just like to close out on the FEMA. We do have FEMA representatives embedded in our office on a daily basis now. So we have direct access to the direct housing program questions, as well as all our aspects FEMA related, whether it be public assistance or individual assistance. So we're happy to have them, and they also bring donuts in the morning, so we're pleased about that. We have Entergy here to speak. Who's Scott? Okay. So Chip is coming up. So I know it's been discussed a little bit, and we've been working with Entergy, with Sleeka, and with the parish to identify ways that we can streamline things. So I'm going to let Entergy speak on that, and hopefully we can get a lot of these trailers out there a lot faster.
Sean Quinn, 2121 East Tunnel Boulevard.
Sean?
Yes, sir, Sean
Okay.
Quinn. And would you mind if I use your HDMI, please?
No.
Good evening. Yvanka Daniel, 4880 Jefferson Highway. And I'm Vice President of Customer Service for Entergy Louisiana. So, again, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to come in front of you today and for us to be able to explain our process and how we get temporary power to the trailers and what we've seen since this process, since Hurricane Ida, and since we started getting requests, and some of the actions we've taken on our behalf in order to make the process easier for our customers and just to make sure we have open lines of communication with all of the stakeholders involved. So our process is pretty simple. Our process is we need an account set up by our customers. We need a permit, and we need the contractors doing the work to follow our standards. So I'll speak a little bit about setting up some of the challenges we've seen since this has started. When it comes to getting accounts set up, we've seen where, we've gotten requests where we've been told that the trailer's ready. However, our customers never called us in to let us know that they needed an account set up in their name. So we've had some challenges there with that. In addition to that, from a permit, we either receive the permit in advance of the customer calling, or when we do receive some of the permits, we're getting them where the names that are associated with the account that was set up is not the same person, or the address is incorrect. So there's some discrepancies happening there. And from a standard, a lot of times we're getting standard things coming back to us where the standard that we have in order to set up the power is incorrect, so we're having to send that back. So as we started getting a lot of these, what we wanted to make sure we did is we set up a process, and again, open lines of communications with all the parties. One of the things we knew that was happening, and we heard it from our customers, is we know they were calling our 1-800 number, and lots of time they were either waiting a long time or things, they just can't get through to us. So what we did is we established a toll-free number, a new hotline, a temporary hotline just for these customers. The number is 866-557-4240, and this is for any customer that's needing a trailer set up and have any questions regards to the billing of that trailer, any of that, they need to contact this number. This is a contact center that we set up here in Louisiana, and we are going to have it available between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. For anyone that needs to contact us. In addition to that, some of the challenges we also saw is that some of these customers, they may have had, with their previous account, they may have had a large balance. So what we're trying to do is really try to work with those customers, making sure that we identify agencies that can help them. There are agencies now that are saying that they're willing to help some of these customers. How can we go ahead and get them assistance through LAHI or other agencies to help them pay off some of these large balances? We are not requiring any deposits on any of these customers. So when they call us, if there's not a balance due or anything like that, then we're automatically going ahead and doing what we need to do on our end to set up their service. Mr. Price talked about talking with FEMA. We have a project team that we have put in place where we have a designer, a supervisor, a customer service person that we are meeting with FEMA and others on a daily basis, where whenever we're getting requests, if there are things that we cannot set up, we are not able to go out there and provide power to those customers, we're telling them what's going on so that they can go back and fix whatever situation. So just making sure we have that open line of communication. And we're going to continue to do this until when we need to. And this is not something we're just doing temporarily. It's going to be throughout the entire process. As they're putting out trailers, we're going to have this available to them. In addition to that, I mentioned stakeholders, working with the permit offices. We're going to develop a one-pager. This is what we need. These are our standards. This is what, so that everyone is on the same page. I think there's been a little bit of confusion there is what does NTG mean? What do so as we go out there, we're not finding, when we know exactly what, they know exactly what we need, we can go out there and get our service guys out there and get that power on immediately. We are increasing the number of resources that we're going to have out there to turn on the power for customers. We are doing additional hours for those same employees, those field employees. And, as we continue, we're just going to continue to just have as much communication as possible with customers. So I will ask of you, if you can share with your constituents the toll-free number I just shared with you. Again, if you're hearing anything once they start calling this number and, they're saying, hey, I'm not getting the help, please come back to us and let us know, because we are dedicated to making sure this works properly and that they've already been through a lot, and we don't want to make this harder for them. So that's really high level, some of what we've been working on and how we want to execute this and streamline these process for our customers. But what I would like you to also see, and I think sometimes it's good to have visuals for you. So I want to bring up my colleague, Chip Arnold, to share some of the visuals of what we're seeing when our guys go out there, because one of the things we want to do is we want to take pictures and be able to give it back to FEMA, whoever it may be. Hey, this is what we saw when we went out there, so that everyone can know what's going on, why Entergy was unable to turn on power. So
Before you step down, repeat the number again.
yes, sir. It's 866-557-4240.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. My name is Chip Arnold. I am the Senior Manager of Operations for Louisiana. My office address is 2623 Cameron Street in Lafayette, Louisiana. So, flip to the next one. We spoke about, and obviously we've got a team here, but we spoke about some things we've done and some of the challenges we've seen. We are cutting edge and changing this. You heard that earlier from Aptum. But it's not our first time being in a disaster either, and Entergy's been here a long time, and we plan to stay here a long time. Our end goal, whether it be Entergy, Aptum, FEMA, or you as the council, is to get these people in something. It's not easy, and we want continuous improvement in what we do, hence the reason for the daily meetings, changing and adjusting. So this slide really goes through the process, and you heard Ms. Ivanka speak earlier about really the three prerequisites. We know we are the last thing for them often. Everything else is there, but we need that account. We need a good installation that meets our standards, that I'm saying we're trying to be as lenient as possible. However, safety and health is important, so it's got to meet certain things, and that's the pictures I'll show in a little bit. And then obviously working with the parish. We call it a permit. We don't need a permit. They pull a permit here. It's your inspection process that permits us to provide that power. And I know that's often confused because we call it a permit on our end. It's called a permit portal, but it's not a permit. It's you're giving us the blessing to go and connect that power. So until that happens, those three prerequisites, the work order isn't released from Entergy. So let's kind of go through the process flow. The customer has to have that other account set up. We talked about account challenges. We're doing everything we can to get them assistance or streamline that. The facilities need to be there, and they need to be to our standards. Once the permitting agency releases it, and we get that, obviously they go and inspect it, but then they get that to Entergy. It's got to match. We see a lot of times where it's an Entergy account set up in my mama's name or my momo's name or something like that, and the FEMA account and the permit, or the GOSEP account and the permit is set up in Junior's name, and it doesn't match. That creates challenges that really just, and I know y'all have plenty of examples, unfortunately, of bad experiences. For us to be able to get those, as you heard earlier, and dig down to them, we don't want that. So those specific examples we need to know and we can follow up on. But once all that happens, we're going to release that work order. If we can't provide service for whatever reason, we leave a tag, a door hanger. It's cards that we print up in our day-to-day work. We do this all the time, but we're doing it here as well. And depending on the condition of the structure, typically you hang it on the most common door that you think on the house. Depending upon the condition of the structure, this may be put on the trailer that's there, thinking that they'll be going to that trailer so that they know we came out, there was an issue, call us back, and we can explain it. There's some generic boxes on there to check whether it's a standards issue or something else, but typically we wouldn't go out there until all those things are met. And it'd only be at that time that you'd see some of these challenges. So let's flip. we've got standards. We've shared our standards with FEMA, with many of the, I think the term is haul and install contractors that Aptum spoke to earlier. We're also going to start with Aptum because they are managing it. They are going to share those standards to all of the contractors that are working, not necessarily directly for them, but get that message to them. I heard communication earlier, and that's what we're after. Our standards are also available on our website, but we're going to share basically the 4 most applicable ones with Chris as well. That way for the individuals and the folks that aren't going through a program know exactly what it is. Here's a couple of pictures of a model installation, if you will. Something that looks good, that we get there, we can hook this up. These are some examples of some challenges we've got to hook it up in a timely manner. The meter pan on the left, I know this is getting a little technical, but it didn't have a ground in it. And that ground needs to be installed. On the right, they installed a meter pole where from our facilities we'd have to cross houses or cross things on top of things to serve that. So the meter pole was not in a clear path within 75 feet of our facilities. And we can still do that, but it means the job goes back to design. We have to go set poles. We have to build out more infrastructure potentially to get there, and that adds time. And I understand time is of the essence for these folks. The left picture and the right picture are the same thing, just a close-up. And this is, the right picture is a close-up. This is an underground installation where an overhead meter pan was used. It's LB after LB coming back down, so there's more turns in there than we would allow. And that comes, we got a ticket, we got out there, we got calls, we go out there to hook that up, and we can't hook that up. There are certain things, like I said, we're doing as much as we can to be empathetic and understand what it is, but there are certain things that it comes to safety, we need to be certain that it's done right. And these are just some of the examples of structures where, and it may not be FEMA necessarily or Aptum, but structures where calls came back into us from y'all's constituents that wanted to restore power to their structure. And this is the same structure, just different angles. But this was the condition of the structure, and they were asking us to restore power to, and we can't. I hope you understand that. Another example of just, we get this, and we get there, and yes, we deny it, and yes, we turn it down, but we just can't restore power to these in this condition. So I spoke earlier, we know we are really that last leg often because everything else is done. There's only 3 prerequisites, but there's some opportunities for those to happen in parallel as some of the earlier things, and customers to get their account in good standing, or if there's any issues, be sure that's right. Those things can happen to shorten that time duration. If there's any questions, be happy to entertain them.
Yeah, Mr. Guidry, or, I thought I had them written down. Next one, first one would be John, okay?
Thank you. Talking about structures with damage, the alternative would be for them to put up a temporary pole and provide a temporary service just like they were building a house, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
All right. If they're putting a trailer on the property, if I'm hearing right, they have to set up a separate account. They couldn't just take that account and move that meter onto that pole?
So the short answer is we prefer a separate account because it's a different premise. So every account is tied to a premise.
Even though it's on the same property?
Correct.
Okay.
Just like you have a different premise, it might be the same address, but maybe you got a water pump in the back, or that's a different premise in our system because it's a different account. If they have no desire to do that, We just need that customer to communicate that to us, and we can try and work through that. That's not something we're opposed to, but that means that they won't have a house account anymore. They're going to have a temporary account set up under this, so it's not going to be a permanent account anymore. But something we can definitely look at opportunities. It's a lot cleaner if they just set up that second account.
Okay. And then, this is really off this question, and maybe Ms. Ivanka might be the one to answer, or maybe you. First, you mentioned specific crews, or additional crews coming in to work on this. Are they specific just to the temporary housing hookups outside of your normal crews tending to other things? Because my next question is, when are y'all going to start fixing streetlights?
Sure. So, good question. I know this is focused on the temporary housing, but to answer that question, yes, the incremental crews and the team that we are building is going to be dedicated to temporary housing.
Good.
With regard to streetlights, we understand that's a concern also. Right now, we are working those by exception until we get incremental crews, because we feel that the folks, your constituents, who want power to these temporary housing units are more worried about getting in a temporary housing unit than that. We are pulling in additional resources for both.
Yeah, well, my point is, if you're giving specific crews to that, fantastic, so that the original crews can go back, because crime
Doing
is an issue.
normal work, right.
Because with these street lights out, got a lot of people roaming out there that shouldn't be out there. And, I mean, I got cameras on my house, and the traffic that I see at night headed to those dark areas, I don't know what they're doing, but it'll be necessary that we get some of these street lights back up and going so that people are going to feel safe on their streets again.
And there's no doubt you want all of them fixed. I understand that. But if we want to connect and prioritize specific thoroughfares that you would like for us to focus on first, we'd be happy to do that.
Okay. And I thank you guys for what you're doing and the efforts that you're taking. Thanks a lot.
All right, Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, Mr. Amity kind of touched on the increased personnel coming in, all contractors, all people coming in to do this. And my question is, why are we just not bringing them in? We had thousands of contractors here before, and we sent them home. Now we're bringing some back. I mean, the problem was here from the day we let those guys go. Now we're bringing them back.
I don't know what the best answer to your question is, honestly. I can tell you basically our process is we don't want people sitting idle. So until, you mentioned we've got problems, there's a lot of work yet to do, but that work isn't to us yet. We talked about those prerequisites. So having, at peak we were at 2,400 in Terrebonne Parish working on D-lines. Having that many people here right now, you would have people sitting idle. Okay, because there is not that much work here for them. I completely understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. It kind of seems awkward that we had a big influx and then we toned down, but what we're trying to do is match the work. We definitely want to be as efficient as possible, and we understand the concerns.
And I'm gonna keep going on the street light deal just for a second. I know that's not off topic, but along those lines, we had those 2,400 people here, and if we kept them here another week, we'd have all our street lights up. We wouldn't be having a discussion about street lights.
I understand your point again. The street lighting assessment had to go in. There were poles gone. There were street lights gone that we didn't know that street lights were there. So that had to be reassessed via maps of where they originally were to try and go back in. And after they left, that's what, once those working crews were out of the way, we came back in with another team of assessors that looked at maps and circuits dedicated to only street lights. So, again, I understand.
I would venture, and I have those studies to back this up, but I would venture to guess that probably 80% of the poles in Terrebonne Parish, or at least on the Bayou communities, have been replaced. And out of those 80% of poles that were replaced, 90% of them had lights on them. Okay? None of those poles have lights on them anymore. So, Terrebonne Parish is kind of a unique area with streetlights. Our road lighting districts pay a lot of money for these lights. And we, nearly every household has a light in front. If there's a pole in front of their house, there's a light on in Terrebonne Parish, in the rural areas. So when you get in the metropolitan areas, they're always lit up. But once you get in the other areas, the rural areas, you don't have the lights like you have in Terrebonne Parish. In the places I've been to, very few areas have the lights that we have. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I actually had Candace Malden. We've been without street lights for the majority of our street lights for over 3 months now. And my road lighting district has still been charged the same amount of money every month. Okay? So that's taxpayers' money that we give in the energy that at the end of the day, their energy bills are going to be assessed another hurricane fee because of all the damage you guys sustained. And as a parish, they're getting charged again a hurricane fee on these, because we still pay hurricane fees on these bills that we got. So we're going to have another hurricane fee charged to these. And we're not, now this is just my road lighting district. There's 9
Understood.
of them in the parish.
Understood.
And they all getting charged since the hurricane. I got the last 3 months, my road line district was $7,220 one month, $7,198, and $7,104. So that's the last 3 months of invoices that we paid energy, but we had no service. So I'm going to ask that we get a refund on it. I'm not sure if we can get it, but I'm going to ask that we get some money back. Okay, I'm going to get off that. So on the hookup, excuse me, you have an average time from the time you get a call that it's ready for hookup to the time that you have somebody out there. What's the average time frame that is?
Whenever we say it's ready, or
No.
whenever the customer says it's ready?
Well, now we have in Terrebonne Parish our permitting process. I call it the green tag process. Okay, our inspector goes out before we call energy, and he puts a green tag on it. He says it meets the requirements. Okay, from that point, you guys get a work order generated to.
No, sir. If they have a good account that matches up to that permit, that's in good standing. Right. So that was the point
But
earlier.
the green tag, once, I've dealt with it a few times. When myself, if I'm doing some work in my house, I have to de-energize my property. Our parish inspector comes in, he looks at my work, looks at everything, he puts a green tag on it, and then I call energy and say, look, I'm ready for hookup. Okay? Now, from that point, okay, yeah, I know you're gonna go through the process of checking my payment history and do I owe money and my arrears and whatever. But from that, let's say everything is good. What's your average time frame of having somebody there at this point hooking up with the trailer?
Okay, at this point, meaning like right now?
Yeah.
Today?
Today.
Today, we are probably running between 5 to 6 days.
5 to 6 days.
Correct.
Okay, 'cause, now I've had several calls since the storm. I've had quite a few for trailers since we started putting trailers out. But I've had many more before the trailers of people that had their houses ready to re-energize, and it was the same thing. They would call me 3 or 4 times, and I was calling, our reps, Mary Fay or Flo or whoever it was at the time, they changed them around during the hurricane, to find out what's going on. And, sometimes it was a week, sometimes 2. One person went 3 weeks, and there was never any issues reported to them that they couldn't be hooked up. It just, when they were called to get a hookup, it'll be tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Now,
Then it'll be 3 days from now at 2 o'clock, and it'll be whatever.
You asked, and just to clarify, during the storm, that was definitely extended. We're shrinking it. We were adding, they were calling, there was a point in time in the beginning of the storm where we were adding 20 days to the standard permit for that because we knew what we had ahead of us. So we were hedging some of that. So you asked right now kind of where we are at.
So right now, we have
Yeah,
5 days.
we've had some, there is no doubt, I'm not denying that. We were pushing them out that far whenever they were calling in because we knew of all the workload that we had and what was going on. So, and again, right now, that's an estimate of where we are whenever all things are completed.
Okay.
Not whenever the customer thinks it's ready, whenever all those things are completed.
Right. So my next one is, you're talking about problem hookups and things. What percentage do you think of the calls you get for rehookups is, what percentage would be a problem as compared to, what do you,
Sean, I know he introduced himself earlier, but he is the region manager here. So it's about 25 to 30% that's ultimately got some issues
issue?
whenever we get that.
25 to 30% of the call-ins for energizing is some type of issue. Okay.
Not necessarily all the same, but
Right, no, because I didn't recognize none of those pictures you showed up there, so they didn't mean nothing to me.
correct.
That's it.
I'm finished, thank you.
Mr. Guidry?
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Question, how many energy workers do they have assigned to Terrebonne Parish on a normal day? For all of Terrebonne Parish on a normal day? I'm not talking right now, I'm talking before pre-hurricane. 12? Yeah. No, Terrebonne Parish. There's 12 before the storm. You know, for such a big area, that doesn't seem like a lot of workers, you know. Because before the hurricane, we had a lot of damage on electric poles. In the district I represent, we probably had 150 to 200 telephone poles that you guys didn't maintain because there were red X's on all these poles that were rotten, ready to fall down, and all y'all had a little company before the storm that were changing all the poles. They were changing all the poles down in Chauvin, and they were changing 1.5 poles a day. So it would have took them, the guys told me it would have took them over a year to change the rotten poles that you guys failed to maintain in a deplorable condition because a lot of them are rotten. And a lot of this outages that we have is energy's fault, you know. And now, as a business, you're going to come back and you're going to make my people and me pay $11 a month more, I believe, for 15 years. How can a company, a privately owned, not a privately owned, but a company come back and have damage and expect the consumers to pay for it? If my restaurant that I own, if it burns down, can I charge my customers more money because I had to fix my restaurant? It's not right, you know. You got a telephone pole that's 40 years old down there, and somebody smacks it in with that car, and they got to change that pole. You guys charge them for a brand new pole. Why not you charge them for a 50-year-old pole? You know, like Mr. Trosclair was saying about street lights. Let me tell you, from Prospect Boulevard to Toussaint Foray Bridge, which is 16 miles, I went the other night and I counted street lights. You know how many street lights I got? 3 street lights per mile. 3 street lights per mile. I own a restaurant. We usually close at 9 o'clock. We close it at 7 o'clock. You know why? Because you guys failed to put lights up. When I get out of my restaurant, when I go to my door, I gotta put my cell phone on with a flashlight to see the keyhole. That's how dark it is down these bayous. There's a big light on the pole that I pay for. I pay you guys for it. Since the hurricane, that light has not ever been on. My wife has called 3 different occasions and have sat on that telephone for an hour and a half for what? To get no light. You know, you guys run a shitty-ass company. I'm telling you right off the bat, I'm sorry about my language, but you guys run a bad company. We wish and we pray down the bayous that we had sleeker, because you guys have run a bad company. I mean, all these poles been rotten for all these years, so all of a sudden now, the people that pay electric bills, we're gonna pay for y'all the poles that you guys didn't fix. You know, that Intech or whatever it is, they told me it was gonna take over a year to fix change these poles before this hurricane, because they come in my restaurant, I talk to them, you know. That's sad when a company with the money you guys got are gonna let y'all equipment go to hell like it is. You can go hit on them with a sledgehammer, a hammer, and I see that's how they do it. It's hollow, they're rotten. And then we have a storm come with 160 miles an hour wind, and why did the poles fall down? Because you guys didn't maintain what y'all had. You know, you say, you know, call up energy. You know, people don't have time to sit down, because wherever you call it, you're not calling, you calling somewhere in Alabama or somewhere else, and you got to sit there on the phone for an hour and a half. Well, guess what? People don't have time to sit down on the phone for an hour and a half. Then the people you're talking to don't even know what they're talking about. Time for a meter? My meter fell on my shed in my backyard. Guess what? I got the green tag, like Steve says. I got the green tag. You know how long it took me to get that meter put up? 1 month. 1 month for them to come and put my meter that hooks up my shed and my barn and my chicken houses. So don't come back and say 4 or 5 days, because it took a month. You know, you guys need to go back to the drawing board and try to do something to help the people. Not try to charge them $11 to $12 a month for 15 years, because y'all did not do your job. Thank you.
I do want to respond on the record.
Go ahead.
Mr. Guidry, just to clarify, your question was how many people are here in Terrebonne Parish? And Sean's answer was the number of linemen that are Entergy employees here. We have over 800 contractors, baseload contractors in the state, that we shift to where work is and do those projects. And right now, contractors, baseload contractors, not Entergy employees, but contractors that stay on the Entergy system, they're not always dedicated to a single office. They move where the work is regularly. Again, right now, we have about 800 in the state. In this area, we have about 60 incremental ones. That's not including what we're pulling in for the temporary housing, not including storm-type contractors that are working as well. So just to clarify that, I understand your frustration, I do.
Well, then how did you let your equipment get so deplorable? If you got all those workers, how did you let your poles get so deplorable? You know, it makes no sense. You can't come back and say that, because the equipment y'all had was junk. Now we paying for it. The taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish are paying for it. I'm paying for it. I got 5 electric meters with you guys in Terrebonne Parish. So I'm going to give y'all an extra $60 a month for the next 15 years because y'all had bad equipment, you know? Just like your street lights. They had some people come up before, and from Energy came up before the council, and we were complaining about street lights. Well, guess what? You know what they wanted us to do? Each one of us councilmen to go down the road and find the poles, go out in the mud, and tie a red flag on it. We couldn't do that. I got poles that's in the marshes that, you know, I'm not going to walk through. So you know what Terrebonne Parish did? They got the city police, not the parish police. They got the city police to go down and mark the GPS numbers on these poles for you guys to come do it. Why can't y'all go and do your job and drive down the highway and see the burnt street lights and change them? Why should we have to do that? We paying you guys to do that. You know, so y'all want $11 more a month and you want us to do y'all work for y'all. It's BS. Thank you. I'm sorry, guys. No, it's true, Danny.
Dirk, you need to
no,
let it out sometime.
No, it's
Dirk.
true, though, you know.
No, I know it is.
It is, you know. If Sleek, I know you got Sleek in your district. Have you had any problems with Sleek in your district?
I have to say
We got
no.
city power. We have no problem with city power. You know who we got problem with? Energy. Because y'all got junk.
All right,
Sorry you feel that way.
okay. You have any more anybody else have anything to say? Mr. Carlee, you putting your light on?
It's unfortunate that, you know, the name Energy tend to make some people tremble. But then I understand your business, your company is set up slightly different. I go along with lines with the people sharing the costs, like dirt, sand, Steve has said that, there's a lady out there right now, she's ready to say something in reference to that. I know your company is set up different from Sleeping, and y'all collect y'all revenue different from the parish. But, you know, I mean, and support and understanding these guys that are up here, I live in the city. But I support my colleagues because, you know, I mean, we're here, we're together, we represent the same people. I can't get like my good veteran buddy Dirk can get like that, but we would like to see better services from you. You know what I mean? And if we could, I think something you said that even after the inspection, you go out to the site and you find there's a problem. So to add to that, I'm looking at the fact that the process prior to you said you're the last person, Energy is the last person to get out to that particular site. But then that's a little small breakdown there. And before y'all going out there, that's a waste of time. So hopefully we can help out from the beginning of the process coming to the fact that you guys have to go out there. But I do support my colleagues and the people that they represent, you know what I mean, and them sharing the cost, you know what I mean. So that's I want to make that publicly known. I support my colleagues.
I understand.
Thank you. Steve, you had something else? Oh, you are? Okay. Unless you have anything else, from the chair, listen, everybody that owns a business is in business to make money, okay? There's no doubt about it. Tonight I heard Ms. Ivanka and you, on a couple of occasions, talk about delinquency and the money. And I know you can't stay in business unless you collect it, all right? But we're talking about people who have, some of their stuff has been devastated, okay? And there's no doubt in my mind that Entergy has the ability to write some of that off in the end of the year. So let's not, I'm asking, let's not make somebody that maybe owes you $100 or $200, let's not put them in the dark when they already lost everything that they had. And they're trying to live in a travel trail, all right? So that's the only thing I'm asking. Entergy has to make money. You're going to make some money to cover some of your losses with the $11 a month. But let's have a little empathy for these people, and please think about that, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate your time and your comments.
Mr. Pulaski? Yeah, Mr.
Mr. David Zito is here from Louisiana Public Services Commission, so I'll turn the floor over to
Good.
David.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
As Chris said, I'm David Zito. I'm Chief of Staff to Dr. Craig Green, the Public Service Commissioner for District 2. Councilmen and women, thank you for having us. I'll say that the beginning of my what ended up being about 5 pages of notes, I thought I'd have a little more of a concise message to say. I'm going to try and figure out the concise way of saying it, but a lot of what we're going to have to do is take a lot of what was said, take a lot of questions that y'all have asked, and go back home and get to the drawing board and figure out how our office and the commission in the next 2 weeks, I'd say really the next few days and the weeks ahead, can start bringing some more results to y'all. APDM, when Ms. Corville was putting together their slides, they had the list of kind of the process that they go through, and really the only part that we regulate in terms of the process for the trailer home installations and getting power is that utility coordination. One thing I did note, and I want to follow up with FEMA, I want to follow up with APDM after this. One moment. If Entergy's leaving, I wouldn't. Thank you. Yeah, at least one. So, sorry about that. So, within that, I do want to note that at least publicly, APDM and FEMA did not suggest that they were not able to coordinate with Entergy. However, we're going to do follow-up calls tomorrow to ensure, you know, if they're more willing to speak privately into that issue. Because that's going to be an important part, right? How many, and y'all have asked these questions, how many of these hundreds of trailer homes that need to be connected are not connected because of an issue on Entergy's front? You know, that is something that we can get involved in, and we want to make sure of. We will say we appreciate Entergy putting the hotline in place, because that is something that is important. Allocating more customers and service representatives and staff to this issue is going to be important, because the number of people now we're realizing that are without power still is, for lack of a better word, baffling and disturbing. I'll say this, when we're at the commission and doing outage reports, by the end of the restoration phase, they say, okay, well, we have 100% restored for all that can receive power. What we learned tonight, and what I've already texted the commissioner on, is that number needs to be made accurate. It sounds like we have a lot of people that can receive power at a trailer home, but that's not given to us. That data is not within that report, so that's something we're going to fix tomorrow. In terms of the other elements of connection, again, we need to understand on a more granular level where Entergy can step up that game if they can. They just mentioned, as the Councilman Trusclair just asked, once that green tag is on, and if everything else is perfect, because we understand they've got their processes, right, and to their point, it needs to be done safely. They need to be able to go out and connect power in a safe manner in line with their standards and process. For that, we're not going to tell them, hey, no, just rush it. You know, we're not going to put them in that situation. It is our responsibility to balance the safety measures for the utility as well. However, in those measures where everything is done correctly, if it's still taking them, I believe it was 5 to 6 days, the Entergy representative stepped out. But that's what I wrote down in my notes. We need to speed that up, and we will talk with Entergy representatives tomorrow about doing that and seeing if we can allocate more manpower to that. A question we also have for Entergy, and again, they stepped out, is if they go out, and one curiosity we have that I don't believe was asked, so forgive me if it was, is if there is something wrong, or they mentioned the scenario where the customer goes to y'all first and does not go within the process to call Entergy, and therefore Entergy shows up, or says, look, this customer's never called, so we can't go out. There we go. So a question I've got, gentlemen, and I don't believe it was asked, if a customer who unfortunately went the wrong route through the process and never contacted y'all's office, if you find out then about that when the parish asks you to go out and do it, and you guys say, well, they've never called, contact the office, do you reach out to them?
I'm going to have to ask if one of y'all could come up here, because we're not going to be able to talk back and forth across the room, because we need to have it on the microphone.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And because this is such an important issue, we're going to give a little latitude here for everybody to handle it.
Do you reach out to that customer, or do they have to call y'all?
So I guess it depends on how we find it, but we are trying to reach out to customers. If it is an existing customer and we know about it, yes. But in general, the information coming from the permit office, from FEMA, from GOSEP, that does not open an Entergy account. And we don't, whenever we get something from them, we don't immediately start calling those customers. The process, you know, we tell them, all of the partner agencies we're working with, please have the customer call us. So whenever we get a list, it's not in the process that we call every customer on there. We expect the customer to call. If something is escalated as an exception, yes, either us or the agency, we can coordinate to who can reach back out to that customer, that specific customer.
And again, I've got a handful of questions that we'll be posing to Entergy, kind of in more written out list in the next couple of days, so that they have a chance to really check with their internals to do that. But that one I was just particularly curious of. Another one, if you can answer, you mentioned you don't charge for the new account, you're not doing startup fees and different things than that. Will you plan on also waiving disconnection fees when that second account's no longer needed?
Yeah, so we don't, if a customer stops an account, we don't charge a disconnect fee. We charge a disconnect fee if a customer fails to pay. It's a reconnect fee, not a disconnect fee. If a customer fails to pay their bill, we disconnect them, and then because of the commitment we have with the commission, if they pay by a certain time, we go back and reconnect them that day. Under normal circumstances, they have to pay a reconnect fee. We do not charge customers a disconnect fee.
That's my bad. I just wanted to clarify that one too. So again, council, I could go back and forth. I've got a lot of questions that I'll be sending them, and then I'm excited to connect with Aptum and FEMA too about the processes to see where we can enhance that, again, that utility coordination piece. Because it does sound like at least, and I can confirm, there is a daily phone call with Entergy and FEMA, and I'm not sure that Aptum is on that, but I would assume that they are. And so I know that communication's happening. Commissioner Green understands that that is happening, but however we can get involved to enhance that communication so that the customer's experience is better, so that y'all are getting less of those calls, and more people with power to their mobile homes is the goal. With that, again, I mean, we've got a ton of marching orders. We are going to do what we can to also blast the hotline number, as much as if anybody around here checks Commissioner Green's Twitter, it will at least be on there tomorrow, and we will get that type of information, because again, and we thank Entergy for creating that hotline, and Ivanka going about that process of trying to connect to customers more, but we want to make sure we can speed that up if possible, and if that's us asking Entergy to dedicate more manpower, which at least from what we're understanding, we're going to have more conversations, seems warranted, then that's something that Commissioner Green will dedicate time and resources to. Again, I don't want to go through the extensive notes and questions like that, and I just want to open the floor to questions y'all have for our office, or any even recommendations you would like to make sure that are on this list.
Ms. Domingue?
Thank you, David, and I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember,
Yeah.
but you and I
Uh-huh.
spoke
Yes,
during
ma'am.
the height
Yes, ma'am.
of the emergency, and I really appreciate meeting you and you being here. And what I would like to see, and what I know a lot of us would like to see moving forward, is that we work on communication, and we work on communication from the top down, and whatever it is that you and the commissioner can do to ensure that whatever's happening with the different companies, that it has been given to the local level, because we were in the dark in more ways than one. And you and I spoke about that in the fact that there was no communication. And so it's 2021. Hopefully we don't have another storm at this magnitude anytime soon, but there's no reason why we should have been that much in the dark as far as communication and information. So we definitely need to, kind of rewrite the playbook on that one. But I do appreciate you being here, and anything that we can do to help you guys, let us know.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And if no other lights, again, we heard a lot of things from us here tonight. This is frustration
Yes,
from
sir.
our point, okay? We've got Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government here. We've got Afton. We've got FEMA, the Entergy, SLECA. All of these agencies need to coordinate better so we in turn can get these people in training, in some temporary housing. And then FEMA can get them into some long-term housing, and then we can work on the real long-term housing. Because this is not, there was nothing personal here tonight to anyone. And please, if you took it personally, it really wasn't personal. It's just frustration coming out in each and every one of us, because we live with these people every day, okay? And we get the calls, and we're supposed to get the calls. But we need to know that when we pass it on to higher up than us, that something is going to get done. And that's all we're asking. If Chris, as he said tonight, sees the numbers going up, that means we're getting more efficient at it. and we're doing a better job. Is it gonna be fast enough for all of us? No, it's not. But as long as we can keep looking towards that end, that end goal and reach it a lot quicker, that's gonna make this group of people up here happy. So, again, I appreciate you coming down, and please tell Dr. Green that we applaud him on all his areas that he does, and the people from Entergy and Aptum and Mr. Price from FEMA. It's important, in my opinion, for all the players to be in one place at one time, okay? I know y'all talk on a daily basis now, and I think that's gonna just help our whole situation out. So, again, thank you, and for all y'all that are going somewhere other than Homer tonight, be safe going back home, please, because there's a lot of street lights out.
And Mr. Chairman, I did forget to add, I'll leave a stack of my business cards for y'all.
Good.
Normally, I would say if you've got a constituent that calls with this issue or any utility issue, have them call our office. Given that on our level, under unfortunate circumstances, we've got 2 people answering the phone, and their turnaround time is 15 minutes mandatory. And that's also FYI, we don't ask y'all to do anything we won't do. And so I will applaud Ms. Ivanka. She is relatively new from my understanding in Entergy, and you have really upped the standards already, and let's keep upping them. And so within that, though, our office is swamped with calls, but what I would like to do is set up with y'all, and we can talk more about it tomorrow, a way to get a list maybe each week, so that we understand the quantity that is still going on, and y'all can email that list specifically to me. That way the commissioner and I and our consumer staff were able to keep tabs on this rather than try and get the one-off, here and there. So I just want to offer that, and I'll leave the cards at the end.
Good, thank you. As you guys are coordinating all of these things, I know Earl and Chris are gonna communicate those things to us.
Right.
So it's a two-way street. So, again, thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you.
We have a motion to go to public hearing in a second. All in favor, say aye. Okay. 6:30 o'clock, yeah. Public hearing relative to an ordinance to amend the 2021 adopted operating budget, 5-year capital outlay budget, and budgeted positions of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. 1, animal shelter donation, $50,000. 2, American Rescue Plan, $1,400,000. 3, adaptive park bathrooms, $52,000. 4, general fund grant, $1,000. 5, Homer downtown development, $145,359. 6, Section 8 voucher program, $13,250. 7, Homer downtown development, $6,580. 8, Section 8-0, add administrative coordinator 1, grade 104. And, say again? Yeah, I am. Just making sure I got them all read. Okay. Public once, public twice, public 3 times. Motion to close, Mr. Amade, second by Ms. Domingue. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Motion to adopt, Mr. Amade. Second, Ms. Domingue. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. B, an ordinance to amend Section 21-30A of Section 2131 of Chapter 21, Article 2 of the Parish Ordinance Code of Ordinances to include Homer Heights Park among the list of parish parks. Public once, public twice, public 3 times. Motion to close, Ms. Domingue. Second, Mr. Amade. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adopt, Ms. Domingue. Second by Mr. Amade. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Motion to go back into regular order. Second by Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor, say aye. Motion passed. All right. Public wishing to address the council. Mr. Lionel Lewis, Jr.
Lionel Lewis Jr., 143 King Street, Homer, Louisiana. I I was coming to find out what is the process or what is the procedure of having lights restored in Center of the Circle. The lights been out for a little over 3 months with everybody else's, I guess, that's still out. The concern for me is that I felt that we could have got some electricity back there sooner. I mean, actually, the lights are still out, but you could have found a way to, like, renovate those homes quickly to get those residents back in there. It's still dark down Percy Lane, heading to Center of the Circle, which I think everybody knows is a high crime area. So I think the concern here is, like, what is the procedure and why they don't have any lights back there at this point?
Okay, again, we can't get in a conversation on it, but that's duly noted that I will pass that on to the electrical department. There's a lot of factors involved there because of the situation. It's not only just the electricity. So in any event, we will pass that on to the proper administrator.
Okay, just making that,
No,
so
no.
we don't give out bad information that's been passed around about who fault, the finger being pointed at
We
who fault it
understand
is.
that. And
Okay.
thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
patience to come up here, Mr. Lewis. All right, second, Ms. Joyce Williams. Street lights on, I think it's Bryant Street.
It would be Bryant Street.
Just state your name and address.
My
please.
name is Joyce Williams, 435 Odemo Street, Houma, Louisiana, 70363. I'm here on behalf of Bryant Street, Isaac Street, Isabel Street, Norman Street, and Odemo Street. Odemo Street is a long street. It runs from size of East Street all the way to Plain Street. So they have 5 lights in the middle of the street. Nothing going toward Main, nothing going toward Plain. And it's a crime-infected area. And like someone said, we have to pay energy for lights that's not working. It's not fair. My mother is 100 years old. She lives on Isabel Street. She has no lights. She likes to go to church on Sunday morning. I don't come out the house at night because, hey, I don't want to run into nobody, and I don't want to serve no time for nobody. So I stay myself put. But it's not a way to live. I feel like I'm living in a third country. I mean, I'm used to going out at night, seeing daylight. And this is night. This is night in my area, night. I don't like to live like this. It's wrong for anybody to live like this. And all I'm asking is for lights. That's all.
Well, Ms. Williams, I think you heard the general consensus of everybody here tonight that that is a big priority for us, be it Entergy, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, or SLECA. So, again, it's duly noted, and like I said, I think you heard us all speak tonight.
Yeah, I'm listening at him. He
Right.
said down the bayou. I'm living in the city.
No, it's
And I shouldn't live like that.
correct.
They shouldn't live like that.
No, you're right. We're not going to get in that conversation. You have a statement to make, too? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Ms. Domingue.
Ms. Joyce, I would encourage you to take one of those cards that the Public Service Commissioners had left. I believe they're right there. And that way you can call his office. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Williams. All right, next we have Mr. Damon Donnell from Crosby. Is he still here? All right. And finally, we have David, and I can't pronounce it. I can't even see what the last name is. That Cito? Is he here? Okay. All right. Next item will be committee reports, Public Service Committee. Mr. Dirk Guidry.
I'll make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Services Committee meeting held on November 29, 2021, and I have 2 public hearings. Ordinance to dedicate and accept the maintenance and operation of the streets, drainage servitudes, sewer, and right-of-ways for Adderley Oaks subdivision, Phase A, energize and accept the street lights and to incorporate Adderley Avenue, Oriole Street, Kingfisher Drive, into the enhanced 911 emergency response system for the purpose of providing a better means of locating address, and you call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Also, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between TPGC and Terrebonne and Homa Downtown Development Corporation and the Hatch Association for construction and placement of the bandstand at the courthouse square in downtown Homa, and calling a public hearing on said matter on December 15th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Mr. Guidry, a second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. John Amadei.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee meeting held on November 29, 2021, and I have 3 public hearings. First is an ordinance to adopt the 2022 operations and maintenance budget and the 5-year capital improvements budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government as presented by the parish president and further amended by the Terrebonne Parish Council to amend the parish compensation plan for new and/or adjusted positions, approve a 4% cost of living increase for the parish president's departments and council staff, to address other matters relative thereto, and to call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Second meeting is an ordinance to amend the 2021 adopted operating budget, 5-year capital outlay budget, and budgeted positions of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Emergency Preparedness Department, EMPG, $33,616. Animal Shelter donations, $10,000. Homa Police Department, LA Commission on Law Enforcement grant, $208,005. Animal Shelter donations, $3,936. Section 8 Voucher Program, $1,838,899. Parish-wide Recreation, $15,000. Eastside Public Safety Substation, $39,356. Dedicated Emergency Fund, $44,011,215. Utility Administration, 0, add GIS Records Coordinator, grade 107, and call a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. And the third public hearing is an ordinance to amend the 2021 adopted operating budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lighting District 1, $22,500. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lighting District 3A, $68,000. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lighting District 4, $9,500. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lighting District 6, $17,500. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lighting District 7, $24,821. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lighting District 10, $11,520. And 5% budget adjustment for Public Safety Fund, $860,282, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 15, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Mr. Amadei, a second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Let's see. Appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. A Homa Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, 2 expiring terms on 12/31/21, both representing civic nonprofit organizations. Ms. Julie Falgu expresses her interest to be reappointed. Mr. William Bislin submits resume and application for consideration.
Make a motion to reappoint Ms. Falgu and appoint Mr. Bislin.
We have a motion to reappoint Ms. Falgu and to appoint Mr. Bislin, second by Mr. Trosclair. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 2, B, 2 expiring terms on 9/9/21, 1 representing each of the following: Terrebonne Parish Council and the Homa Terrebonne Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Joseph Boudreau II, representing the Chamber of Commerce, submits application for consideration.
Make a motion to appoint Mr. Boudreau and hold the other one over.
We have a motion to appoint Mr. Boudreau and hold the other over for 2 weeks. Second by Mr. Harding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Number 5, various vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Veterans Memorial District, 1 unexpired term due to a resignation and 1 expired term representing the Vietnam Veterans of America. Recreation District 2-3, 1 unexpired term due to a resignation. Recreation District Number 3A, 1 expired term and 1 unexpired term due to resignation. Recreation District 6, 1 expired term. Recreation District Number 7, 1 expired term. Bayou Blue Fire Protection District, 1 expired term. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 1 vacancy due to a resignation. Children and Youth Services Board, 1 expired term representing City Court. TITA, 1 expired term representing Terrebonne Parish Council. Coastal Zone Management and Restoration, 1 expired term representing the public. Planning Commission, 1 expired term. Hospital Services District Number 1 Board, 1 vacancy due to a resignation. Number 6, Councilman Carl Harding requests discussion relative to cost of living increase for fire and police department retirees.
Yes, I decided to pull this because getting more information in reference to this and take another avenue, perhaps on the state level.
Good. All right. Thank you, Mr. Carly. So item 7, item 6 is item 7, announcements. Parish President, I hear any council people. Mr. Amday?
Just a reminder to the public that on Saturday, we will have the Christmas parade rolling at 5 o'clock. It's going to start at Terrebonne High and go into downtown around Barrow Street. So I know everybody's been cooped up all this time. We have an opportunity to get out and enjoy some fresh air. So come on out and bring the kids and have a good time. Thank you.
All right. And from the chair, thank everybody for their patience and indulgence tonight. It was a frustrating. This is something that should have happened a month ago, and it did not happen. So again, let's see what's left on here is monthly engineering reports. Motion for that. Motion. If everybody in favor, say aye. We don't need it. Motion carries. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Trosclair, Mr. Amadei. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. We don't normally vote on